ready to go? Okay, Kate, we good on minutes? Are you doing it again, or Peter has offered? Thank you,
Offered.
sir. Okay.
Actually,
So let's go around and do a roll call real quick. I will start. Ryan Welch, Chair of OSAC.
Joel White, committee member.
Sean Samuelson, member.
Kate Sackrell, Vice Chair.
Vanessa Hetzel, member.
Peter Ruprecht, member.
Marcy Strauss, member.
Tracy Collar, member.
Patrick Cameron, town staff.
Sandy Hammerly, trustee liaison.
All right, thank you. Agenda approval. Any corrections anyone would like to make?
Not this time.
Okay. So the agenda, we don't need to have a motion to change the approval. So next public comment. All right.
The only person in the, so how about if I just sit here? Or
how do we like to do this with?
So it stays on recorded public record.
Yes.
If you can do the mic. That way we've got it.
Okay.
Officially live on the recording.
We'll ask you to keep it to 5 minutes if you could, please.
Okay, I have a lot
Thank
to
you.
cover. Don't count this as my 5 minutes, but I like to look at the people with whom I'm
Make sure you
conversing.
stay as close to the wall as possible.
Lady up against the wall. So my name is Teresa Clark, and I'm a Superior resident. I happen to live at 765 East Wiggins Street. There's been a lot of talk in my community, my neighborhood, and extending further out about a proposed trail that abuts my backyard between the cul-de-sacs of Carville and Wiggins. So I'm hoping, excuse me, that you'll bear with me because I did a lot of research to prepare for this. The first thing I wanted to know was, where did the idea come from? And so it was pretty hard to find. So I had conversations with former OSAC, former ProStac, former trustees, and former planning commissioners. And all of them told me that there was never a proposed trail next to my house between those two cul-de-sacs. So then I thought, well, what's going on with this? Because when I purchased my house, I actually had a planning commissioner sit down with me and go over the PD planned amendments and other documents of the town before I purchased the house. And if there was a trail that was proposed next to my house, I would not have purchased it. So I'm like, where'd it come from? How is there suddenly news about this? So I did an open records request. So all of your emails I have, all of ProStac's emails I have, all of the trustee emails I have as well. There are 6 emails in support of this trail, 5 of whom live in my neighborhood on a cul-de-sac, and one from an OSAC member sent on May 24th, which was well before any community research began. So we sent a survey out and a petition out to my neighborhood, all of the streets that would be involved in that. And that was conducted a couple days after the May 24th email. And so, sorry, I'm going as fast as I can, I promise. Here's the petition. I've emailed it to all of you, so you've read it. And here is the map of the results. 75% of the neighboring residents oppose this trail. And of the 5 that support it, 4 of them live on the cul-de-sac of Wiley. Their houses and driveways face that cul-de-sac, so they're not impacted by this at all. So it's kind of like the Waldona Boyero closure. Some residents were impacted more than others, and it's the residents that aren't impacted at all that have sent you emails, and some of them have sent duplicate ones. So then I said, 75% opposing, why is this even being discussed? And then I thought, well, maybe it's because folks don't understand the options for this. So I went out and walked all of the trail systems that are around already there. And for a woman with plantar fasciitis in both feet, this was not a comfortable thing to do. So I walked up Wiggins and Brandon, and there's a lovely fountain as you get to McCaslin. There's a lovely fountain on the right, and then the house is left, and then the house is on the right. And the trail goes for 30 feet on McCaslin. And then it cuts down back into the wildlife corridor that serves as the residential buffer into the STC. And just to clarify, so this was the last proposal that the Toll Brothers put forth to give you some idea. So this is Wiggins and this is Carville. All of this is residential right here. And the thing that the people that sent the emails in support of the trail said is they wanted the convenience to get to the businesses of the STC. Well, I'm sorry, but I couldn't get a big enough map. Yep, sorry. But the businesses are actually here at the corner of the page. So the shortest way to get there is actually to come out here to this trail and come down in to the STC instead of cutting through the neighborhoods. So that was, and then I measured it out and I stepped it off to see how many, okay, this hurt. And I'm like, I have total sympathy for people that have canes and walkers and wheelchairs at this point in time, because I wish I had had one for this. But it's about 150 of my steps in terms of difference from the residents on Wiley that want this trail to come down next to my yard versus using what you guys have already built. So I'm not so sure I think that's an appropriate option in terms of what's already there. And then lastly, I just wanted to remind you all that there is an ordinance that protects, we call it the residential buffer, the wildlife corridor. It's ordinance number 98, TAC 0, TAC 2. And that ordinance states under section 9, the town and Boulder County have received reports that there is a wildlife habitat on the property for the black-tailed prairie dog. The trees and ponds provide a foundation for the use of portions of the property by raptors. There shall be a natural area on the property consisting of at least 15.5, but not more than 25 acres, including trees and wetlands. The natural area shall be sufficient to preserve the existing habitat. The land within the natural area may require revegetation and reclamation. However, it must use materials indigenous to the locale and suitable for the prairie habitat. So when I read on the agenda that you...
So can you please wrap up for me?
Yes, I can. I'm sorry. I told you I had a lot of research and, you know, okay. So to conclude, there's an ordinance that protects this as a wildlife corridor. We've already put one trail through it, and this ordinance actually requires the OSAC committee or the town to revegetate it to support the wildlife habitat prior to building a trail system. When I saw that there was trail considerations on the agenda tonight, and yet there was no list of those to find anywhere on the agenda, I assume that one of the trails being discussed is the one by my house. And I'm being totally honest with you, not disingenuous. This inconveniences me perhaps more than anyone else. But your first priority needs to be to revegetate the habitat to support the wildlife. And secondly, if you're going to approve the trails in terms of clusters or areas of town, then when you're considering the areas of town that include North Rock Creek to the downtown Superior, because 75% of the residents in the closest area oppose this trail, actually strongly oppose this trail, you need to take that one off of the list of the cluster connecting Rock Creek to downtown Superior. And I'm so sorry I've taken up more time. I really did, as you can tell, try to make it short and to the point. Thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay. I don't think there's more public comments, so we'll move on, but thank you. Okay. First item is on the Zaharias development plan. So just to remind everyone, we saw that there was an initial proposal. We were all to review and send Peter our comments. Peter circulated the comments so that we could take a look and start discussing how we want to move forward with any sort of recommendation. Now, one thing that we should clear up though, well, actually, why don't we start, but we do need to clear up when we think that proposal will come forward, because that will change the timing of when we need to make the recommendation to the board. So, Patrick, can you clarify that for us, please?
So to the best of my knowledge, and Sandy may hear different because she's got more access sometimes to Matt, is that we do not have any public hearings right now scheduled around the Zaharias development. Staff took the approach of, as soon as we had it and we made it public, it made sense to start to review it as opposed to waiting and then not being prepared for it. I generally, when we were walking around, thought maybe fall, just given what it typically takes staff to review a plan. So, but I will say I could be completely wrong. I mean, we could be asked to go guns blazing, and that's what we would do. But staff's still very much in the review process.
Do you have any idea whether the plan is likely to change significantly before it gets officially submitted?
Yeah, I don't know. This is our second submittal, maybe. So it has changed. So you never know.
Okay.
Seems like if we could get to a recommendation tonight, that would be good, but we don't necessarily want to put it in our minutes as a recommendation to the board. That way we can bring it forward as that recommendation when the time is right. Does that seem right? Or should it be in there and then we can remind the board of it when that development is coming forward that evening?
You know, I don't think that there's anything wrong with doing an ongoing review process. My fear would be is you guys make some kind of recommendation and it does change, then you either amend that recommendation, but building off the HHR recommendation document that you already have, I think we've already identified that there's some things that you guys would like to drill down further, and just starting to really identify those. And then at the point that we know it's going to go to Planning Commission, that's when I think it's most appropriate to bring forward a recommendation. There have been times where committees make recommendations way too early and it just gets lost in the shuffle. And then context change or whatever. Your recommendations and ProStack's recommendations will ultimately get rolled into a document that our planner, Stephen, produces for the Planning Commission. That's where we'll put all the committee feedback, all the staff feedback. Then it gets reviewed by PC, the Planning Commission. Then the next month after that, all the committee feedback plus Planning Commission feedback goes to the board, and then it's up to the board at that point. So I would say don't feel like you have to rush through it. You know, make sure you're capturing what you guys want, as well as accomplishing what else is on your work plan. But I'll let you guys know if it becomes a hot item.
Okay.
You guys will be the first to know, plus ProStack, because we'll need ProStack to do a review as well.
Thank you. All right, Peter, take it away.
Great. Well, I was super pleased that a lot of you took the time to go through that really, really big document that's difficult to view even on a large screen, and all those PDFs and so forth to see how it compared with the recommendation that we'd done a couple of months ago as to how the area around Hodge and Harris should best be preserved. And I guess I'll say there was quite a variety of feedback, both in the way that the current proposal matches up with what we had recommended, what the scope of our response should be, and kind of larger picture thoughts about how we want to approach something that is very intimate to open space, but is also a development proposal. And I don't know if we could, you know, Brian and Kate, is it appropriate to spend a few minutes just kind of doing a little bit of bigger picture questions, like, yeah, you know, stuff like that. I mean,
sure.
Some of the things that people brought up, you know, were what is the scope of the response? Is it limited to, is our response limited to what the position paper is in the position paper? Can it be bigger than that? Do we want amenities at all, considering that the buffer space is proposed to be much smaller than what we've recommended? How much should we push back on that, you know, considering that, you know, a 300-foot buffer space takes away like half of the buildable space in the proposal and so forth? You know, before we really get into details, what do you all think?
Well, historically, we've been allowed to comment on developments, regardless of having a position paper or not. So I don't think it needs to be limited to the HHR of anything we see in there. Now, I do think we need to keep it limited in scope to open space, or I think it loses some credibility.
Right.
But otherwise, no, I don't think it has to be limited to the reservoir. I mean, it's the elephant in the room, obviously, with that development, but it doesn't mean we shouldn't be looking at other things open space related. You know, like on the Anderson property, we looked at a wildlife corridor, right? Did we think there was enough space between the homes, you know, where a little place where the animals could get through there, that kind of thing. So, I think that's fine. I mean, the only other comment I'll ask is I agree about the 300 feet might be excessive. On the other hand, I don't think we should not start there and have it get negotiated down.
But that's the first rule of negotiation, right?
Yeah. Well, the buffer space now, if you consider it from the high water mark to where the fence is what, 10 feet? I mean, the fence is essentially right on the high water mark, isn't it? I mean, there wasn't much space there at all. And I don't know if we made that clear in our position paper that we intended the buffer to be that natural native land without human or dog access as that 300 feet. So really we were counting that from high water mark to fence essentially. And that, I don't know if we made that clear, but I think we need to make that clear.
Yeah, so it's actually a little bit confusing and complicated when you look at the plans, at the PDF. So there's the property line fence for Boulder County. Their high water mark was actually up the hill from that by about 10 feet. And then there's no other fence at all except the one that's right behind the buildings. And so the distance between that high water mark and the backs of the buildings averages, I think, 118 feet, but it goes down as small as 40 feet and as much as 132 or something. So between the buildings and the high water mark of the reservoir, there is a buffer of 100 feet, which is kind of what we asked for, except on the far east side, kind of by the inlet of the reservoir, where the swimming pool is, and that's only 40 or 50 feet back from the high water mark. And when the trail goes between there, it's only like 20 feet away. Sure, yeah.
Is that,
yeah.
I can bring it up.
That'd be awesome. So
It's hard to imagine that.
yeah, so I was actually kind of pleased that the developer didn't use sort of the normal water line, which is a little lower, but the highest high water line, as far as I could tell when they were setting that up. While Patrick's working on that, things people liked was the actual deeding of the open space buffer to the town, so that would be town managed. The water detention ponds, having new water detention ponds for that. Some of the amenities, like a parking lot and so forth, there's actually, parking for the nature trail and so forth. And, kind of the big concerns was the size of the buffer, the placement of the trail inside the buffer zone, right? So I think the proposal assumes that the buffer zone would be open to the public and to, pets and so forth, which is maybe not what we had exactly wanted.
Is this a good sheet, or do you want me to go to maybe the overall?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Scroll back.
Is the dash line the high water mark? Or is that the property boundary?
I'll try to do my best. This, it's kind of hard to see it, but it says ordinary high water line.
Oh, okay,
based on
gotcha.
aerial. It's kind of
Okay.
this line here. Yeah, you guys would probably know better than I what the actual high water mark is. I mean, they took it off the highest that they had seen it, so, which, I think is probably a pretty good mark.
Yeah, it's basically, the high water mark is pretty much right where the Boulder County fence is, and that's here.
Yeah.
Is this. So you can see the high water mark pretty much follows that. These, which are really hard to read, is like 120 feet from the edge of the water to the edge of the building. So that's the actual edge of
Yeah, so we're 118, 135, 130, 124, 129.
And so if you were thinking 300 feet, that would be, you know, kind of back in here. So just to keep in mind, that's a significant chunk.
And it does say that land is public.
Say again.
That striped land is public.
This would be
And that would be
deeded
a
to the
trail.
town as,
Yeah.
as open space,
Yeah.
as natural open space.
And that parking lot is for the trail, or is that part of the development? Like, for the pool or something?
My understanding is that this is trailhead parking lot.
That was my understanding.
Nope.
And, you know, obviously it's pretty close to the pool, you know, people can use it for whatever, right? But it's 33 spaces. So in this area, here's the pool, the edge of the pool to the high water mark here is about 40 or 50 feet. The trail down to the edge of the high water mark there, the proposed trail alignment there is maybe 20 or 30 feet. So just to kind of give you an idea of the scale. And the wetland along Highway 36 there is all pretty much just untouched because it's, you know, it's not developable because it's wet.
You're right, though, when you look at it that way, 300 feet is a lot.
It is a lot.
I think especially given that triangular shape of the development. I
It
mean,
is a lot, but if we don't advocate for it, no one will. We're it.
All I'm wondering is if we say it has to be 300 feet,
Well, we
there's
can't-
no way someone could build there, right? I mean, would that be seen as not being open to a compromise? I think we should start, I mean, we need to start bigger than this. I just don't know if it needs to be 300, is my only thought, but
Yeah, so the
I don't know.
EPA guidelines that the 300 and 100 foot things are based off of. 200 to 300 feet is what the EPA recommends for critical wildlife habitat as a setback. Boulder County has designated this as critical wildlife habitat. It's not something that is a strict definition. So that's where the 300 feet comes from. That's the maximum EPA recommended setback. The EPA recommends a 100-foot minimum for setback from any wetland, just to, you know, provide nature habitat in there, to avoid impact onto nature habitat. I think the town says you only have to have a 20-foot buffer between development and open space.
You don't have
So-
to include that anywhere, do you?
But, you know, that's the minimum, you know, and obviously that's kind of more than what we've got here.
I think Joel's right, because if you start with 300 feet, everyone knows in a negotiation that gives you 100 feet buffer to negotiate in. So let's ask for
yeah,
the,
I'm
I
kind
don't
of,
think it's unreasonable to ask for the max.
I don't know. I mean, I agree 100% about negotiation. You ask for more than what you expect to get, but I kind of wonder if 300 is unreasonable in this instance. I mean,
Then it almost makes us sound incredible.
yeah, like, I wonder if it's too much of a reach is
Right.
what I'm asking.
Feels irrational.
But how could we be uncredible when that's what the EPA says?
Right.
the EPA says 200.
Yeah.
They don't say
Right, and I was
300.
gonna ask you, do you know what the difference is between 200 and 300? Why is it, I mean, that's a lot of space.
It is, I
For
don't,
us, in this case.
I don't know for sure, but I think that it's based on topographical features and the type of wildlife that you're trying to protect. That it would be either, you know, bigger or smaller than that, or on the larger small end. But honestly, I don't know what the algorithm is.
Do we know, are those townhouses, do we know anything about that, Patrick, yet? Or are we waiting?
I think some of it's rental properties.
Rental property?
Well, what those buildings are.
Yeah, what are those buildings? They
It's-
look like barracks.
It's gonna be all rental.
Yeah.
It'll be owned by an HOA and rented out.
I'm trying to see if I
They're
can
all
pull-
rentals?
Yeah.
trying
So if we
Yeah,
did,
that seems like the buffer needs to be bigger, just.
I know,
just-
and if we
That's
did
an
200,
unstable
Tree.
group.
they're gonna negotiate down to 100.
Yeah,
I don't know, it would scare me to go lower,
Yeah.
knowing that it's just gonna get knocked down even further.
I don't think it affects our credibility to shoot high. I think it, you asked for the moon and.
Well, I mean, I do see some validity in saying the EPA recommended is 200 to 300. We would err on the side of caution. I think we have to state that it's not just, hey, we'd like twice as much as you've proposed. We have to say, we're going along the EPA recommendation and we'd like the maximum recommendation because we're more concerned about this.
yeah, I like that.
Marcy, it looks, I'm looking at the elevations, it looks like those back buildings, you know, maybe in that 50-foot height range.
So
50
that's
foot
3
height.
stories, basically.
Yeah,
Maybe four.
That's
Four.
3, 4
Yes,
stories, 4 stories,
Four.
yeah.
12-foot floor.
Let's see if I can see those buildings, it actually. Sorry, those are that second row, that interior one, you see that interior red line
Mhm.
there? That's.
Man, that's high density, isn't it?
Yeah,
Mhm.
it sure is.
It's actually way less dense than the first proposal, I think.
Mhm.
You know, it's down by about a third.
Mhm.
But yes, you're right,
Down
it
a
is.
third.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there's gonna be some fluctuation in the proposal, you know, some buildings will be higher or lower, I'm sorry, but it looks like the max is 50 at the roof, max to the roof ridge, so the very top.
Do we get to decide about the trail going back there and the parking lot? Or is that,
From what Patrick described, that the town would ask them to build out how the town wants it, right? If they're giving the town the
Yeah.
land, I think we would have some say.
Absolutely.
And is that something that the developer builds as part of the project?
We would make the developer build the trail, but if there was,
To your
if there was really
specifications.
strong consensus that the trail's not needed, they'd be more than happy not to build it.
I don't want anything back there. I just don't, I want it all to
Open
stay
space,
for
yeah.
the wildlife and for the
I'm
reservoir.
concerned too about the dogs and people walking there with those animals. I mean,
Well, the parking lot.
yeah.
I mean, yeah, it'd be great to put a trail there and for the public to enjoy it if it had remained open space. But the whole thing is different now, and there's just not enough room for the wildlife. And if we add a parking lot and a trail in there, and dogs and people, it's
Yeah.
not gonna be for the wildlife.
It's not going to be the
So,
same.
and I think that that's a good recommendation. If that's the way you guys want to go, I would then follow that with like secured fencing. Because from staff's perspective, I will tell you, people will create
People
their
still
own.
Yeah, sure.
And what we've learned is that's much more harsh on the environment than trying to control access points.
That's true.
It's then like free flowing, like, hey, I'll cut my own trail, you know?
Yeah.
People are much more likely to stay on a trail if there's one there. And then, we've already seen it, you know, through Truck Page and through Town Center and through open space out in town, as people create their own. And then we get erosion issues, you know, so it is a fine line. So I think if you guys want to propose pristine open space, right, you wouldn't need the parking structure.
Right.
But then I would encourage you in that recommendation to provide how you would get people to stay off of it.
Well, they do a good job in the development that's currently there on the other side of the reservoir. And
Yeah.
all those people have buy-in, taking care of that reservoir and staying out of the wildlife area. I don't know if it's possible to make that happen.
Do you know what the
As
fence
we-
looks like? Barbed wire? It's not like a 6-foot fence with an arch or anything?
I mean, at least it's just those people that are living there, and for the most part, the public, you know, can't go in there or doesn't even know about it. And so, if we don't have a parking lot there, at least maybe that's a start to
Yeah.
keep.
As I recall, it's a wire fence, isn't it?
I think so, I think it's part of
On the
That's what I
Southbrook side?
remember, yeah.
No, I think it's a security fence. I think it's
Security
pretty,
fence? I thought it was
Yeah, let me see
a
if
I think it's gray and slatted bars and
Yeah.
cooler.
So
Yeah,
the,
It's a
Sean, you
pretty
wanna see if you
serious
can pull it up?
fence.
Yeah.
I'll just, I go there all the time because I'm doing a bird survey there. The fence around Saddlebrook is a security fence. It's 6 or 8 feet, metal slats. The fence between Saddlebrook and the reservoir is basically wire fence.
No.
Is it barbed or just barbed less? That's what I was thinking, that I remember that between Saddlebrook and the reservoir had barbs on it, but maybe it doesn't.
I don't think it does.
I don't remember.
I can't remember, but I mean,
being
there's
there.
definitely a fence there with a bunch of signs saying do not cross and so
Right.
forth. I mean, people still, some people do go in there. but,
Yeah.
um, So I'm going to counter argue a little bit as a nature watcher that the town spent, I don't know, $750,000 or something to create Hodgson Harris Reservoir, to recreate it. And if there's no other public access, the only people who can actually look at it are the people who are in Saddlebrook, which is gated, and the people who live in this potential new development. And the rest of town is effectively excluded from looking at what is honestly a critical wildlife habitat that's full of birds and various other animals. So it seems a little unfair that the only people who can enjoy it are the people who buy right around it. You know what I mean?
But will
So-
there be anything there to look at anymore? That's my concern.
One thing I'll offer though is on our trails plan, there used to be a trail, and it wasn't even a trail, but it was discussing building something right here off Shamrock Drive in this little spot here.
Yeah.
That would be an observation deck. So maybe it would be a raised structure that will allow you to look out over. So it isn't the same as walking next to the trail, but that was an idea that's come up before.
Right. The problem though is that there's a building right there that you can't really see around. So you can see a strip, kind of that northwest strip of the reservoir, but that's only about a quarter of it.
What about, instead of as big a parking lot, we would have something there with a little more direct view? I mean, I remember exactly what you're talking about, Ryan, is we were talking about just a limited access area. And if we didn't want the trail, then we would want a parking lot or as big of a parking lot, depending on what the intended purpose for this parking lot is, which I don't know off the top of my head. I don't know if it's supplement to, visitors and pool guests and things like that and trail access, or if it's geared strictly to the trail access. And my guess is it's a supplement.
I
But
thought that that viewing point came from Kathy and those in our bird world, for lack of a better word. So I'm pretty sure that's where we came up with the idea to avoid the trail and do that. So really, I think what would be best is getting more input from all of you who are really advocating for that habitat.
Some of that, I think, though, maybe I'm completely wrong, but I feel like that was all the idea. If it was before the development, with the development there, I think that just changes everything.
Well,
I
it's
could be
true.
totally wrong.
That's, yeah, I think the picture that Kathy had produced about having a trail through there assumes that there's not a housing development and that the trail is much farther up on the hillside rather than closer back down.
Just sort of surprised at your argument to allow everybody in, because my first instinct is that will affect the wildlife that's there. If you have people and dogs and large numbers trekking through, they're going to leave, aren't they? I mean,
That parking lot could be
or they're not going to come. I'm just shocked by your
I mean,
position.
there are birds on the Saddlebrook side, right? And there are people. I mean, that's a lot closer than our 300-foot buffer over there. And I don't know, I haven't looked at it close enough, but do all the birds stay on the far side, or are they dispersed all through the reservoir?
If there's a lot of human activity on the Saddlebrook side, the birds move over to the other side of the reservoir.
There's not really any animal species that reacts more to stress than birds.
Birds and dogs don't mix either. That dogs cause stress to birds.
Yeah, so you definitely would not want to have, in my opinion, any dog access into that buffer area. If you had a security fence,
And it'd have to be more than just a split rail where it's blocked. I mean, a dog could jump that.
No, a
So
proper
easily,
wire
like-
fence.
Yeah.
Maybe running just exactly right behind the townhouses. Obviously, the residents would be less stoked about that, I'm sure. And then a fence, and then the buffer area, that might be a compromise. Or you just don't even need the trail at all. Where the parking lot is, have a viewing overlook or something there, and let people look at that rather than walking around. One of the reasons that we had suggested a trail along here was to connect to this potential trail that would go down to Autry Park, but I think that's off the plan now because the alignment is too complicated.
Well, that's a good question, is it?
I mean,
Well,
the
it
alignment
was-
behind the reservoir?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's, Sandy?
Pardon?
Do you recall what the story was with the potential trail along 36, kind of behind Saddlebrook?
On the south side of 36.
Yeah, sorry.
You mean the Dr. Cog Trail? The one that I got the money to build? It won't go, it will actually, it will come across 88th and come up 88th. The trail we got the funding for, it does not talk at all about going into any of the areas or going into any, it's gonna come straight up 88th, kind of come around at the roundabout and then go into Autry Park. Because we had no access to that piece of land. We were hoping that part of the development, that, you know, if Zaharias develops, that we would be able to get that developer to help us pay for that part of the trail. No,
We've got a map on our rankings though forever, or ever since I've been doing it, that goes around the back of that reservoir.
So
It kind of comes around Autry Park and will kind of come around the facilities down there and hug the road that comes into the mall and back up.
We had,
Trail 10.
you know, we had looked recently about basically extending the 36 trail from where it curves now to go to the hospital over and then cross either under 88 or something. We've gotten a price back of like $6 million.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I
the
mean,
reason
think
was,
that's
is
what you're
there's
thinking,
some,
yeah.
there's like those kind of swales that are down in there that, we would need a bridge over.
yeah, and that, because that was the original thing we had presented to Dr. Todd,
Yeah.
was that we'd be able to go down along the edge. And then we quickly realized why CDOT took the trail on the other side,
Yeah.
because it was gonna cost us $7 million. So we are not proposing that at all at this point.
So I guess what that comes down to is the potential connection to that trail that's not going to happen is not really needed then.
Well, the
Well-
town has not planned to connect to that. If it happens, it'll be because it gets developed as part of this proposal. But the town is not gonna, because it was cost prohibitive for us to connect through that part of Superior.
So, quickly reading in the narrative, parking requirements and allocation from, all right, this site plan provides ample parking, surface parking. 30 surface parking spaces are provided for trailhead parking area. So yeah, if there's no trail there, that southern parking lot will go away. There is a, you know, I guess
What's that?
Is that a new building?
what could happen is exactly.
Would you say, Joel?
in the
It's,
building.
I mean, it's about the size of the buildings
Yeah.
up above. I mean, it's,
Or you're likely, you could get the response of guest parking or flow over parking to the pool or the clubhouse. So,
So I guess, I mean, we do need to start to wrap this up, and especially since we don't need to have a recommendation today. I mean, I think we should get close. And so, I mean, and there's a chance that these plans will change before we even need to bring the recommendation up. So, I mean, I don't know if we want to stew on this some more and bring it back next meeting, or if we want to try to get this part resolved tonight and then come back to the, you know, prairie dogs and burrowing owls and plant species another time. I'm open to suggestions.
Well, what about if we said with the trail, if it's like this 100 to 130 foot buffer, then that would preclude putting a trail in there because it's too much people close by. Where if it was a 300 foot buffer, would that change what you all are
Yeah,
thinking?
that's kind of what I'm thinking.
Well, what if
couldn't
it's
we
a
recommend-
200-foot trail?
It seems like we should recommend the distance to the fence, not the distance to the homes. Because in the distance to the fence, if they want to push it back and do a trail or other space there, then that's fine.
I like that.
But there's no, like, whatever's in the buffer has to be native and untouched during construction.
I mean, I guess the other question I have is, I mean, we've all kind of talked about 100 feet now, 300 feet. I mean, do we have a consensus of what, I mean, what we would want to ask for, or do we want to think about that? I mean, you know, I guess in my mind, I would say the EPA's is 200 to 300. My first number I would throw out is, I'd say 250. We're in the middle of their, you know, best case scenario, worst case scenario for critical. But I mean, what does everybody else think about what number we should go with, or do we want to table that?
250 is the number I had in my head for those exact reasons that you just outlined.
Same here. But then they're gonna take us back to 200
Yes.
probably.
But
So
I
I
think
think
I think
300.
that would be a good outcome.
I
I
do
think
too.
200 would be,
It's twice what they're offering now.
right.
You know, so we give up 50, but get an extra 100.
If the scenario plays out that way.
Sure, yeah. And you know, there's a lot, like I said, this is the second or third iteration of this, so we don't know what's going to happen, but
I'm okay with 250 if we could just kind of stand firm for a while and not turn to jello, you know?
Yeah, but all we do is make a
Yeah, it's
recommendation.
not our-
No,
It's
that's
not
what
our
I'm
decision,
saying.
right?
No, that's what I'm saying. I think that position,
So-
that if the EPA recommends 200 to 300, and we believe 250 is reasonable, is a good one.
There again, I mean, I don't think we're ever gonna have another scenario where we're talking about backing up to a critical wildlife habitat.
Such a beautiful
So
area.
we'll be like setting a precedent kind of thing, or setting a.
But didn't
I don't know.
Saddlebrook, I mean, Saddlebrook blew away the 100 feet even, right? I mean, none of us were on the committee at that point, but, I mean, that's what I worry about, is we've got the south side, which isn't the same example.
I would encourage the committee to keep that as something that you guys will need to respond to,
Okay.
as well as if there would be any interest in making recommendations to Saddlebrook to improve what's
Mhm.
on their side. That's
We-
already
and
a
we do
question
have that
brought up,
in-
yeah.
In our position paper that,
Yeah.
So that'll be something that I think you guys are likely going to be asked to address.
okay.
So I've been very quiet.
Yes, you have. It's unusual.
So we have other examples in town. We have Autry Reservoir, right? We're doing development all on the south side. We didn't go through this process for that at all, right? So there's another example of, oh, why didn't you hold those standards for all the development going around Autry Park or Autry Reservoir? We also have the granted as a drinking water supply up by the ridge. But there's another example, right? That's all barbed wire off, but there's the townhomes right there, right next to it. And we've, you know, well, I suggest we try to put a trail potentially back there, but regardless. We have all sorts of other issues, right? The burrowing owls and other ground nesting creatures. So, you know, so if we propose 300 feet back, right? I'm gonna say, well, we have to keep the same. How are we gonna make a profit? We are gonna build higher, as a result, higher density, taller buildings, right? So instead of 4-story, we're talking, I don't know what the town limit is over there, but they may say, well, we want 5-story buildings. Do we want that instead? Do we want 5-story buildings even more compactly packed around there? I don't think so. So we got to be careful in what we ask, because they are trying to make a profit, right? They're trying to accommodate us, but their bottom line is they bought this land for, they want to buy this land that's very expensive. They need to get their money back out of it. So they're going to get their money back out of it one way or the other. So their solution in that case, if we were to get that, is, well, then we got these taller buildings, a lot more people potentially. So we have to think about the consequences, not just buffer, right? It's still going to be the same number of people potentially, an even smaller area over there.
So from a wildlife perspective, what would be worse? Less buffer? Taller buildings? I don't know.
Right. I mean, in the last, I think Marcy, somebody brought up, you know, it was Kathy that brought up, you know, animals, the flight pattern coming in to land, right? You got taller buildings then.
Yeah.
And then you got 36 on the other side. So where are they coming in?
Right.
So again, let's be careful, think about, well, there's give and take, height versus width. Other examples in town, you know, not just around here, but we have other reservoirs in town that we built around, including one that has new development going in around it, that we didn't talk at any length about doing the same buffer thing, right? So, okay, I'm gonna stop.
Those are great points.
Yeah, great.
But
I
just
agree with a
because
lot
we
of that.
made mistakes before doesn't mean that we should follow.
Agreed, but this is a very, this is, we're
And
asking
this
a
is
lot.
a unique property also.
It is, and I don't know how Autry was, maybe Autry wasn't designated that. All I know is that over at Riverside, near where I live, we get pelicans, we get all sorts of wildlife, and there's homes all around that. And I don't know how much buffer we have in there, but we get a lot of wildlife, and all that water trickles down to here. But we still get a lot of wildlife. We don't have the same types of wildlife, but we get a lot of wildlife. So, this is a tricky
But it's
situation.
all negotiable. I mean, we're talking about negotiation. We don't know they're going to go up.
No, we don't, I
And
agree.
aren't there height restrictions?
So I
mean,
just took
they
a
just
look.
can't go up.
It looks like the height restriction is 50, so there are
Okay.
already.
So they're at the highest point they can go.
So then it just comes down to them, are they willing to, you know, again, if they buy the land, they can do whatever they want to.
They can cram more in, they
Well,
can
they
do
need a
parking
rezoning
underneath.
to be able to do whatever they want.
They
can't
still
just do-
ultimately have to get approval from the board.
Yeah, they can't
Yeah.
just do it.
It's not zoned right now for that to go in.
Right.
That's
I
all
mean,
can
this is
say.
our chance to create the ideal situation on a format for the future of what's left. So let's shoot for the moon and not look at disappointments. I don't know. It just doesn't strike me as a good negotiating point, I'm sorry.
They're all great points, Sean, but we have been working so hard on this reservoir.
I know, I'm not saying we shouldn't
Like a
go forward. I just want
decade.
everyone to take pause and think about other examples,
Yeah.
the consequences, right? Again, these are developers.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're buying it to make profit.
Right.
But we're here to protect the animals in the space,
Mhm.
not the developer.
It's,
Right.
yeah, I don't
So
know.
I will strongly encourage you to vet all these out, because you were gonna be asked to
I don't think we're
answer these
ready.
questions.
I don't think we're ready
I
to
think
make
you're
any blanket statement
Yeah.
as a committee.
So it's
Maybe
good.
feel that way?
We always kind of fall on, it's good to hash it out now than try to
Yeah.
hash it out in a meeting, you know, when it's time to go.
Right.
Which is, I think it's
And the
smart that
questions
you
are
guys are
flying.
taking this approach to really kind of vet this out, because, you know, we've had to approve FPPs in like one committee meeting, and it's miserable. So I think you guys you're asking and going through the right discussions, in my opinion.
And I might be really naive and, you know, I'm still relatively new, but I feel like in the biggest picture of all, this whole thing is a compromise to me. I feel really emotional about this, so.
No, it's a
But, like,
massive
the
compromise.
fact that it's not open space, that we didn't get that
Maybe.
chance.
The ideal would have been
It's a
to
compromise,
have
and it
zero.
really,
Yeah.
we're already compromising with our town, and
Yeah.
that's how I feel.
So I'll make a recommendation that we bring this back again next meeting. I just don't think we're far enough, and I think we brought enough up that we should come back with our thoughts on the space. I mean, from the outline, it seemed like there were four main issues. There was the space, the buffer space, the plant material, you know, whether it's native or who would be planting kind of in that buffer zone. Then there's groundhog and owl,
Very good.
or I'm sorry, prairie dog and owl concerns. I think those ones are fairly straightforward, right? We'd like the prairie dogs to be humanely relocated and an owl study be done to make sure that, you know, they're not destroying that habitat. And the native grasses, I mean, I don't know, we may need some more discussion on that. And I don't know if I'm glossing over some of the other bullets there, but I think we can come back to that. But is there anything that we'd like to do as sort of homework or pre-work before we come back and discuss it next time to try to get it? I mean, while we can't keep discussing this, I'd hate for us to not have anything definite, and then we hear the proposals coming forward, and then we need to scramble.
Yeah.
to get our recommendations.
Patrick, do you know if Boulder County, if development does go in here, or would they consider re-fencing or doing anything different than what is existing there now?
Yeah,
What
I
would-
think so, and they'll also be included, they're a referral agency. So Boulder County will weigh in on this proposal as well. And I think that it's also completely appropriate that if you guys have suggestions that you would like Boulder County to see.
That's
right?
what I'm
Like,
thinking.
if you wanted to make that recommendation and say, we'd like that.
I think it would be better, if we would have more weight if we went through Boulder County, so with it as a joint force, we would have that weight of a recommendation. So I would propose that we move something and kind of hash it through them first before.
I mean, the only risk there is that we don't get that done, and then the development comes up and we don't have it.
That's fine, we can still propose what we want to individually, but if we also have their buy-in, then we have twice the weight. We can still go forward with our own individual.
So how would we do that?
Well, and I'm actually just kind of thinking off the top of my head. Politically, I don't know that Boulder County, and this is literally just me speaking off the top of my head, I don't know that Boulder County politically get in the business of starting to try to, they're going to comment on their property, right, period. They're not going to probably comment or be comfortable commenting on what's going to go on outside their property. This is just my guess, is that it would be pretty bold if they were going to come back and try to tell a developer potential development in our town. It could happen, but I think Boulder County will basically make recommendations just to protect their asset, which is the reservoir. I don't know that they're going to.
Without accounting for the habitat around, or what has been labeled as critical habitat?
They will comment on protecting the critical habitat within their fence line.
Within their fence line?
Yeah,
What-
I don't know that there'd be a lot of appetite for them to start to comment on areas outside that.
Yeah. And their fence line is that heavier black dash?
Yeah, it would be, Sean, I look at it, but I do think that there are some things, like if you want to talk about like what that fence line looks like or what their property line looks like. Yeah.
That's their property line.
Oh, that's their property. I was thinking the bigger dash, like right next to the reservoir.
Right next to the
But yeah, I think you guys are probably gonna have quite a few things that are common. I don't know that they'll look at things like surface water runoff. They'll wanna make sure that, like, my guess is they'll look at the photometric plan for lighting and light spillover. I don't know, just having been in government, it would be like me telling somebody in Broomfield, like, yeah, we just think your development plan shouldn't be here.
Yeah.
That's not typically, like, they're probably much more like what you guys were saying. They'll want to compromise and say, hey, we know that a developer wants to be here. We've got this asset. We want to protect our asset. So they'll respond to, they wouldn't ask for a bigger buffer,
Do they review the application?
Yeah.
So that's part of the
They're a
process, is
referral
they are,
agency,
okay.
so their recommendations will also be included.
Okay.
Yeah. And again, this is me literally just thinking off the top of my head, because I was thinking about when you brought up the fence, Sean, that to me is an item where it would be, yeah, the town of Superior and Boulder County think we should. There are going to be some points where I'm certain you guys are going to land on the same page. And then there are some things that you guys are probably going to consider that they're not going to be comfortable even talking about, would be my guess.
So are they going to do it regardless, Patrick? I mean, they're a referral agency, are they going to give their feedback whether we request it or not?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Just a matter
we've
of-
got a whole list, right? So the county, anybody who's got adjacent property, so CDOT, county, I'm trying to think who else, fire department, Louisville, sheriff's department, school district. There's a whole list of people that we have to include on every project. And we've been keeping Boulder County in the loop, because obviously that's their reservoir. So that's, it's a little bit, in a way, like kind of what we were doing with the Zaharias Trailhead, or Shan Trailhead. is where, you know, it abuts their property, so they'll really want to make sure that their assets protected.
I don't know if I'm allowed to ask this, but did Boulder County ever look at that as open space? Like, are they allowed to do that? Like, I don't know how their open space.
Yeah,
people work.
you know, we've listed, so, you know, when we do that kind of recommendation prioritization thing, they have always said that this is not a parcel that they're
That's
interested
right.
in as open space.
All right.
And actually, I think they recently changed the language to say, if you've got the money to buy it and you have interest in it, we'll maybe look at it when you have the money to buy it.
Give us a call.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that the most recent thing I saw was that Boulder County would, I mean, it's basically what you said, but they would be interested in a purchase if they had money available.
That's right.
Not merely that we would have to pay for it and they would be okay with that, but if they had money available, it would be something that they would consider contributing toward. I believe was the latest.
That last one. Yeah, there was a language change where it was like, if, you know, if you've got funding and you've got, yeah, it is something like that where it's almost like what they've told us on CenturyLink, which is if you want to be the cowboy on it, we'll consider it, or it's something that just basically. I could probably find it real quick actually.
But I mean, at this point, it probably doesn't matter that much, but.
Well, my only thoughts around that were if they, like we do, listed, you know, pros and cons to it, then we would know how they felt about that land next to the reservoir, which is what we're talking about.
So we have a ton to get through. We do need to wrap this up. There's no way we're going to be here till midnight if we don't wrap this one up. So I think we have a reasonable plan, but back to the question, do we need, you know, Peter, do you want to try to take these comments and maybe start working on a recommendation as it would look and then circulate to the group, and then we can refine that next time based on this discussion? Doesn't mean it needs to be final, but it would be a start of that. Okay.
Will do.
Great, thank you.
I appreciate all this discussion, you guys.
Oh, it's really good.
Thank you for all your efforts on it, Peter.
Okay, trail ranking process. So, you all had a chance to see the spreadsheet. You all had a chance to see the map. Could we, Patrick, do you have that spreadsheet by chance?
Yeah, sorry.
So the couple of interesting pieces of this that came out of our leadership meeting with ProStack is that they have already ranked. They ranked on the map that Corey had sent me previously, which was before even we made our suggestions for other trails that we wanted to see.
Why are they not reaching out to us first before they do that?
And that's
We
our goal
talked,
for next year.
Sean, we talked about it.
Yeah.
It's just everyone's busy.
We go through this every
I
year.
know, and we went through it again this time, and we said we're both gonna put it on our work plan to have a joint ProStack meeting before we start the trail ranking process.
It's
So
gotta
I've
be
already got
Q1
the
then,
note,
right?
then in Q1, we will put that on our work plan and ask our liaison to make sure that ProStack has the same. I know, Sean, right, I'm frustrated too, but there's only so much
I know.
history we can change, which is none, so.
Right.
It is what it is, right? And so the way that that's gonna work is we're free to rank those trails, but they won't show up in the combined rankings.
Okay.
But the material's there, it's all ready to go for when we wanna put together our trail list for next year. I mean, the other thing to realize, remember, there's no budget for this year. So we are going through the exercise, but until Wildflower Park is paid off, right, there used to be expedited trail funds, there are no longer. And so we're doing this, and we talked about not doing it, but we said there's enough people on the group, it makes sense to get familiar with the trails and go through it. Those of us that have done it, this will be fairly straightforward because we've done it and we have our old rankings, and it'll probably be fairly straightforward. I think that the thought process of where would we add additional trails is really good to do every year, so I think it's worthwhile. Yeah, so go to the combined worksheet, please. So what you'll notice here is that items in red are new from the last time we did this. Items with an asterisk after them are not going to be on the map, and they are on the new trails map worksheet. They're basically what Sean sent as images of, yeah, if you just click on that worksheet called New Trail Maps on the far right, this is like, if you just scroll down, you'll see these are, like, we even have from Louisville, those trails that were proposed for by the underpass, yeah, all of that. So as much information as we had. Then the other thing that I want to make crystal clear is that for downtown, we are not ranking 1A through F. We are ranking 1, meaning trail connectivity to downtown, which means that there's no specific trail that we're recommending. What we're recommending is that be a priority for consideration on how we're going to do connectivity. So when we get this, we're not going to rank 1A through 1G. We won't put any data in there.
There's a G, sorry.
What's that?
Sorry, I had 1 through F highlighted, none.
Oh, gotcha, thanks. So
is that the same for anything that's A, B?
No, only 1.
Just 1?
Just 1, yes. This is how, we need to somewhat follow how ProStack did this if we're going to put together a combined trail ranking, and that's how they did it.
Okay.
I mean, fire away with questions.
Well, why would they separate that out and not rank them, and then separate out 3A and 3B, but we're ranking those?
Because Town Center, there's so much construction, we don't know where things really are going to go.
I know,
It's
but, okay, all right. That's fine, that's fine.
It's a lot of work.
I'd rather just hide them in that case.
Well, but here's the thing.
Wait,
No, we are going to hide. It's not going to be on the,
Yeah.
we'll do that. We won't even include it on the spreadsheet that you get 1A through 1F, and you'll rank everything.
That would be the better way to do it.
Okay, so that's how we'll do that. They did show up in the original spreadsheet they had, and it was just to start getting the conversation going on what would the connectivity look like, or what other connectivity options.
Yeah, that's
through-
different than ranking, though. Yeah.
I know. I mean, again, Corey took the initiative to redo the map.
Mhm.
He's good at doing that. If we had had someone that was good with PDFs and wanted to redo the map and had the bandwidth, we could have gotten ahead of it, but he took the initiative to do it, and so we need to follow it because we're that far down the process.
I think they were getting some I don't want to call it political pressure. Certain things were emphasized different for each committee. They were being specifically asked to like really drill into the town center. Sean, I agree with you. Staff actually recommended that they not show it because we don't even know what Toll Brothers is going to look like.
Okay.
We don't know. There's so many unknowns. We had some concerns about, and Terry, this plays right into your conversation, is when you start thinking of things contextually too far in advance, it can sometimes get confusing. So that's, I think, a little bit of the backstory.
The other backstory was it did get added to our work plan,
Yeah.
that we needed to have a meeting with the RC Superior developer
Right. Exactly.
about could we be doing any temporary connectivity, right?
Right.
So all of that did get pushed down from the board. So this will be fairly similar to what we'll do, or what we did with the Shan-Shan, where you'll give it basically low, medium, high, your top 3, and then the last column is going to be, so the combined, actually, it's on the ProStack. The last column is always a little confusing to me, and the column headers aren't right, but target for this year. And we'll fix up the dates. I think I may have on the OSAC sheet, but it basically is saying, do you think this is something that we should be
2021.
or asking, should we be asking money for this to be expedited for any reason? If you know of anything, right? Like I don't know, if we have any that we think fall into that category. Knowing that there most likely won't be budget, but we can still ask, right? We still need to, we can still put that piece in, right? So any questions? The other question was, what do we want the due date to be on this? I mean, we have some time. It was in our Q2 work plan, but with Shan Shan and Zaharias, I don't want to, we like to have this done, so when Boulder County asks for their recommendations, what do you
That's
guys
August,
think?
right?
Patrick was saying it can come even later.
Yeah, it came really late last year.
So I don't think we need to have this done in a month. I think it would be okay if we had it done in 2 months, but open for discussion.
I mean, I've been through this enough and have thoughts on all of it, so I can get it done in a month without issue. 2 months is fine with me if there's no pressing need. We've got a lot of other stuff going, but 1 month doesn't scare me.
2?
I'd rather not do 2. I'd rather do 1 or 3 because I'm not here for the August meeting.
I'm actually not either.
Yeah, there you go. Boom.
I'm not here for the July meeting.
All right, September it is.
But I mean, but really, we submit these and we send them to ProStack and they combine them, and then after they combine them, we review.
But do we have the
Pretty
motion
simple.
to submit them? If we've already got 2 missing and
So you should do it
a
July.
third committee member that's not yet named, or we could be.
Yeah, I think maybe we should.
I'm fine with July.
I mean, I think that,
What'd you say?
I said I just lost. I tried to rally for the 2 months.
I think that you'll find it fairly straightforward.
Yeah, I think it is.
It's really
Now that we've done it,
The
just join with us, too.
unfortunate, or the little clue that you'll have in the numbers is that the numbers are from last year's ranking. So these are ranked as how we had previously, how they had come out from the combined ranking. There's a
Got it.
missing number in there and I haven't quite figured out where it went. I think like 7 might be missing. Maybe it got built.
There's no 2.
Or there's no 2. And maybe, you know what that was? I think that's the connector up McCaslin. Now that that's a sidewalk.
Yeah.
That was a priority last year, but now it's built.
Yep.
Do we have access to the ProStack ratings?
No.
No.
The whole point is for it to be separate. You're not supposed to, I mean, you really shouldn't see other members' rankings before you do this, so,
Can I make a request?
yes.
I would like a response for community members regarding those who are concerned or not concerned, interested, pro, against, whatever, the trail by their house, just so we can have some, I mean, I don't like not responding to citizens, because I know when I send out emails, I like a response, so. How can we?
But I don't know if I don't
What
think
can
this
we
is
tell them?
OSAC's response. I think this is
I
the
agree.
board's response.
I agree, so is it,
So I think it's people coming to public comment and
you don't
having the
have
board.
control, or what is it?
I mean, it's not our decision to decide if we're gonna rank a trail or not, right? Our work plan is, you shall rank trails.
Right.
And they haven't come down and said, you will not consider those trails, or you will consider those trails, right? I mean, maybe somebody else can provide better guidance, but I'm not comfortable coming out with a town position on that trail, right? Our position is we
No,
rank trails and
I
make
agree.
recommendations to the board.
I'm not saying a position, I'm saying, I don't like to leave people hanging, that's what I'm saying. So is it,
Well, so.
we understand, thank you for letting us know, and please share your concerns with the board.
But Ryan's done that.
Which is what I'm doing.
He sent one
Awesome.
today that said that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
he
fine,
sent
which is
some
great.
emails back.
And if I see that they're copied on the board, then I don't feel like I need to do that.
Perfect.
So, yeah.
That sounds like a great plan to me.
I mean, I will say though, I know that this connector, this 1F is contentious. My view on this is that our job as a committee is to provide input to the board and to provide all perspectives. And so I don't believe we should be removing it from consideration. I think the board should hear all points of view. And until we're told otherwise from the board, that's the way that I'll be looking at that trail. But we won't be ranking it
I was gonna say, but we're not
potentially
ranking
again
anyway,
for
so.
another year, or not at all, so.
Yeah.
And that's another nugget of information. We are not doing anything with this
Mhm.
for a year
Mhm.
or later.
Unless the board asks us to do
Right.
something different.
And so, full disclosure, I'll kind of talk to Teresa's point. I sent a message to the board as a private citizen, not as an OSAC member. And I don't know if everybody's seen it or not, but I can send it out. I sent it just to the board. And it didn't come through like others do. I thought it would. Like, the board forwards them on. to us, we get, hey, here's a thing about this. So I sent one on. At no point did I say Wiggins or Carval. I said connectors to downtown is important. So just putting that out there.
And you're allowed to do that.
Yes.
And I did the same opposing the trail because it would affect my property. And I pointed that out to all of you, and I've sent it to the trustees.
Again,
And
totally.
the fact that I even object that it's on the list.
Now, as a citizen, that's fine.
That's
As a
right.
member of OSAC, that's probably not
It
appropriate.
affects my property, and I'm protecting my property, so.
Yeah.
And
So-
Joel and I have communicated.
Yeah, we had a good discussion about it.
Yeah.
But I was careful not to sign my OSAC member or anything like that. I'm just Joel White citizen in that aspect.
Right.
And I would encourage everybody to comment on it. I think more input from everybody is good.
Okay. So to wrap this up, I will send out the trail map. I will send out the spreadsheet with just the pro stack and the new trail map worksheets.
Okay, and you're hiding 1A
I will
through
delete one-
delete.
Well,
1A
it just
through
turns into
1F.
downtown trail.
Yeah, it
connections.
just, I mean, it's just, one remains and 1A through 1G come off the list. If you have questions on how to rank, ask. It'll be a shorter, it's a month turnaround. I think you'll find it goes pretty quickly. I know it has every time I've done it, so. And then we'll get the feedback, and I'll put this on the email. Send it to me, I'll compile it, send it off to ProStack, and then we'll make a joint recommendation that the board accept our trail ranking for the year.
Awesome. Thanks for all the work on that.
Yeah,
It's a
you're
lot.
welcome. Okay,
Lot of
Sean,
labor.
you're up.
Okay, I don't know where you want to, Patrick, show me where.
Shan.
Yeah.
Every time I drive home now, I look at Shan and I look at that little shed. It's like, oh, there's the little shed.
With the toilet and
And there's the tree, there's the old tree.
The shed? Oh, I don't know.
the fruit stand.
It's a fruit stand, it's a fruit stand. It's a fruit. I'm telling you about the fruit stand you can see from the road, and then that knotted tree
Yeah.
that we want to keep there, it's like, yeah.
So the elk that I posted the photos of.
That was an awesome photo, by the way.
Yeah, right.
They were that close. They were taken from my car.
And they were on that trailhead.
Yeah, they were on the trailhead, and that's the part I didn't realize until like a day later. Yeah. They were right, so like I'm on McCaslin, there's the sidewalk, and they're just hanging out, like maybe 5
Master
feet
final,
away
yeah,
from
that
the
guy.
sidewalk, chewing.
Yeah, I hope so.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And then the next night, we were driving home and we saw them again on,
This
at
is,
the Colton.
this is the main meeting. Did you have one?
It was so fun.
Let me check the date. It was I sent one out,
Yeah, you emailed one out
it
to us.
was, a week
This
or
is
two ago?
May 3rd.
No,
What date is it?
I
Say this
didn't
is Patrick,
update the
I didn't hear
date.
you.
I need to know the actual date on the file, not what's written there.
Because you sent it at the middle of May. No, like 2/3 through.
Yeah, it was like just before Memorial Day weekend. All right.
Oh.
Yeah,
Here, hold on, I'll see if I've got it.
it was in an email.
Hey, while we're waiting for that, I wonder, Trustee Hammerly, could you give us an
June
update on
3rd.
the Shan naming based on
June
the
3rd.
work session from
Yeah, June 3rd.
from Monday?
You missed Fort Death Patrick, is that the
Is
one
that
we need?
something we should be talking about?
I'm happy to start if you'd like
It would be awesome.
on that. So I
Okay.
watched that. So there was a little bit confusion on what the Historic Commission thought was going to happen. They thought that, they sent them to us and then we were going to forward all, them up. They saw ours, but my intention, or I thought the group's intention was, we knew they were going to promote that one and we were going to have 3. And we'll submit all 4. And actually the board, I think, asked for wanting to see them all, I think. So I think what we'll end up doing is sending the list from the Historic Commission with how OSAC voted. And then we'll let the board work their magic and pick a name. Now, do we need to do that as a
That was a really
recommendation?
graceful way to say what we do.
Work their magic.
How do we submit that, though? Does that come up through a recommendation? OSAC would recommend the board consider these.
how we did it on Wildflower Park.
Wildflower, the committee actually made a formal presentation.
Yeah.
So at the point when the board's ready to, like, name it, the committees will come forward and it'll be a 10-minute presentation. So Founders Park, we did a formal presentation. Wildflower, we did a formal presentation.
So what action do we need to take short term with the list of names? Just put it in our notes that we
Yeah.
have them, and when they're ready to name them, we'll bring forward the information?
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that sufficient?
I would bring forward Gerald's recommendation, but I would also submit the historical commission's list, because the board said they wanted to see that.
Oh.
It's the same list.
With their
Yeah, we don't
You're
have
not
any.
submitting it, because the project is your project.
Sure, but it's one list. Like, we didn't add any names to
No,
the list.
it's the
We're gonna
exact same list.
submit essentially their list
But, so there was a
verbatim.
list, and then they had a recommendation, and you had a recommendation.
Mhm.
They had a top recommendation that they wanted, and then we all ranked them and came up with our top 3, which did not happen to be their recommendation.
And
So we'll make that
the
clear.
only dilemma that's in there is that you made a decision not in a meeting, and you didn't have a discussion about it in a meeting. With you
No, we
talked
did.
about the fact that you were gonna have I wasn't at the last meeting, but I don't think you made the decision at the meeting, because when I read the minutes said that you were going to send out the ranking sheet. And so then what happened was somebody consolidated the rankings, but that was not discussed in a public meeting. So you can't have a ranking and not discuss it in a public meeting, because basically what you did was you made a decision outside of a meeting.
So
If I-
we talked that we were going to do the top 3. I remember that distinctly.
Yeah, but I think we said we were gonna talk about the top 3 here.
Yeah, and
So I think
so
today's
even if
meeting-
the problem that I
Sent it
top
out
3, the top,
too early.
you can't go out and do your ranking offline without actually bringing that to a meeting and
Gotcha.
saying, this is, because really what should happen is you should present your results at this meeting, so the public is then aware of what you discussed.
Oh, and
And
but they got
then-
sent out, it got sent out before we
Well,
talked about it.
it wasn't sent out to anybody. I knew about it, and I said that you had ranked it, and you had shared it with me, but it had not been discussed formally in a meeting. And so
Mhm.
it technically
Okay.
doesn't exist until you discuss it
So
in a
let's
public
talk
forum,
about it.
because you
Sure.
cannot make
So-
a decision.
No,
I own that then. That's my error.
Yeah, I mean,
Um,
and it was strictly because you didn't understand the process. But now,
Well,
all you need to do
True,
is,
but-
you can't make a decision, like, just like when you have your trail rankings, you can't say, okay, this is it. You need to bring it to the meeting,
Sure.
and then everybody looks at it and agrees that that's what your results came up as.
Well, and that was.
So that's the only
The
dilemma.
intent
It's like
was
that,
to
I know
do.
what they decided, but it hasn't been discussed in a public meeting, and I assume it's gonna happen at the next meeting.
Yes.
You know, where
And
you
that
would just
was the-
share the results
that is
with the
the-
public,
Sure.
and, you know, I didn't make a big deal about it, but then trustee Skwadziński said, well, it's not on the agenda. I said, well, I
Well, that
assume it's
was-
in the,
No, that was
it's in
my
the
fault,
discussion
right?
of the trailhead.
Yeah.
It didn't worry me, because I figured you guys would just bring it to the meeting, and then that would be done.
Which we did amend, if you notice, we did amend
Yeah.
the agenda, and that is on there for the Shan amenities now.
Oh, you did find it?
So we did.
Well,
Discuss it now.
sure, it was
I don't know if
in
we
with
want to-
good intent, so that they
So we can-
had that information when they had their, Larry had the information on Monday, and he wasn't caught off guard by our past meetings. Mistakes happen. I own it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a problem.
Did that have
It's
the
just you have to
attachment for
bring
the
it,
full
basically
list
what
of
you have to
names,
do
too?
is bring that ranking to a meeting.
Well, I think that's all.
Agree on it, and then make a recommendation,
Oh,
which is
yes,
exactly
yes.
what ProStack did. They had the top 3 names, they brought it to a meeting, they said, okay, do we recommend these top 3 names? And what they actually did was, they said, these are the 3 names that got the highest scores, but we don't really recommend any of them. These were just the top 3 names. We don't think one's any better than the other, which was great, because the board actually didn't pick any of them. So they were fine with, because they didn't feel like they had a lot of vested interest. So that's the only thing, you need to
Gotcha.
bring it to a meeting, make a recommendation that based on the list you were provided, these were the 3 names that OSAC now recommends
Okay.
to the board.
Well, if you're able.
It's
We are able to,
It's
which
just
we're
complicated.
It's working out.
and-
doing right now.
Okay. You can talk, Sean, I can talk, doesn't matter to me. You can pull it up, it's gonna take 2 seconds to load.
He's putting in a Word doc.
Look at again.
Sean, you should see.
I see it, boom.
Pop up, and then just.
Open read only.
And then that's just the raw email. Is that-
Oh, yeah, that's good.
Is that fine? Okay.
Hey, can you guys read that? My eyes are blurry,
Yes,
so
I
it
can
looks
read
blurry
it.
to me, but West. Getting old. All right, so,
Or delete the top part of the email and it should bring that, the, whatever, the bottom of that table will come up.
oh, yes, I see what you're saying, yeah.
Red tails on a second page.
All right, enable editing, and let's get rid of this guy. And delete. Delete, hello, delete.
It's locked.
It's still under. Save that.
Oh, crap.
Just hit save and I'll delete the second.
Yeah, sure. All right, now delete.
Welcome to government.
All right, hold on. Let me do this the right way. Stop that. Reopen and then say create a local copy. Merge changes later. Resubmit. Sure. Enable editing. Let's try this there. Hopefully that does it.
Good work.
This is why we have a computer expert in our group.
That's why I signed up to work in government now.
Is that everything? Yes, that's everything. Okay, so let's officially talk about the names. So thank you all for sending your names into Tracy, who compiled the list based on how we have rated in the past, where 3 is the heaviest rank, 2 is next, and lowest is the lowest rank. So we asked everyone to rank their top 3. Oh, for crying out sure. Oh, for crying out loud. Oh, why'd I do that? Undo. There we go. Okay. X that out. Sorry, guys. God, so stupid. Oh, no. Stop that. There we go. Okay. So we're back. So these are all the individual rankings, and the total column here has everything combined, sorted from highest to lowest. As we can all see, the highest 2 ranked by far were the Kite Route and Mein Camp, followed by a distant 3rd with Interurban, referring to the Denver Interurban Railroad, and Edith Orman, the school teacher at the CNS, and then coming in 1, 2, 3, 5th place, is that right? 5th place or 6th place, is the Ackland Morgan name that the Historical Commission was their top preference. They did not give any other preferences other than the Ackland Morgan. I think they're all, the rest were whatever we, whatever order we chose them in, but that was their top preference. So, in my viewpoint, and this may differ from other people, is looking at the weights alone, I might suggest that we put forward our 2 highest weighted ones because, again, by far, Kite Route and Mein Camp are, everything else below it is by 1 or 2, right? Whereas Kite Route and Mein Camp are almost double, in some cases, what the others are ranked. So, I mean, top 3, we've always gone with top 3 of everything, so I'm good with top 3. I like the theme personally, and we can all go around and express our opinions. In my opinion, it's always good to have a roundtable discussion on these things. I'm a train guy. The reason I picked my top 3 is because they're all train.
Can I interrupt? If we do that, we're going to be here till midnight.
Okay.
We have so much to get through on the agenda that
Whatever you guys want to do.
I think we all, if anybody disagrees with this, let's have discussion, but we just don't have time for a roundtable.
That's fine.
I mean, or we can cut the rest of the Shan discussion, but we need to get a budget proposal to the board, so. I mean, what we need to do is write the recommendation, right? That's the part that we have
For
to.
the trailhead amenities.
No, for the
Oh, for
naming,
this. Okay.
right? So, so far I have OSAC recommends the board choose a name for the new trailhead being discussed as the Shan Trailhead. Maybe I,
Referred to.
oh yeah, referred to. The Historical Commission recommends Ackland Morgan as a trailhead name. OSAC ranked the list with their clear majority being Kite Route and Mein Camp. The complete list of names is provided with history or with description of where the name came from.
question before you guys vote. My question is, why are you feeling a need to name it right now? The only reason I asked the question was with Wildflower Park, we waited until the park was built. Because then some things appeared, wildflowers appeared. And you don't know exactly what you're gonna put in the trailhead, so does it make a difference to you what it might turn out as? Because the board's not gonna, we're not gonna feel any need to approve it until we know exactly what amenities you're gonna put in it and how it's gonna look. So that's the only question I asked.
Thought we were
Because we
asked
won't
to
feel
do
any
it.
need to name it.
I mean, Ken brought it,
we came
yeah,
up with-
yeah, Ken brought it up in our work plan in the meeting, didn't he? Weren't we asked to do this?
No, we were, but there was no time frame on the
Right,
actual
that's
name.
true.
I mean,
I
Trustee
mean, you
Kemsley, the
absolutely
thing
want to run the
is,
process.
the thing is we're breaking ground in about a month on the trailhead. What we're bringing forward are all this additional amenities. And so trail signs will be purchased and those kind of things. Now, we can decide to remake those kind of things, but I think in my mind, that's why we were trying to do it. But you're right, I mean, when you stand up there after there's a lookout, you might, something,
That's the only reason
Might
I
strike
said,
you as-
because you might come up with, it was a little bit different with Wildflower Park because they involve the entire community in the process. So, and it's kind of not in a particularly historic location, so that's different. But that was the only thing, is I just wondered why you felt like you needed to do it. Because the board will feel no need to make a decision until we have a little better sense of what it's going to look like. But I mean, you could bring it tomorrow, but I don't know whether we'll feel a need to name it until we have a better sense of what it is. We might, but I just don't know why to rush to judgment. You can make, you can have your recommendation made, but I don't know that the board will feel a need to make a decision unless you guys have a particular reason why you want to do it.
I think we were just talking about it, and it was
Okay.
one of the things that came up is something we wanted to figure out. And we also thought the other way is that we wanted to collaborate with the other. And actually, that's the way
Which
this
I
all
thought
came
was
up, was we
fabulous.
wanted to do this collaboration,
Yeah, it
and
was
the Historic Commission came up as the right person to collaborate with the name. And the fact that work is over is why
Okay.
it's coming up now. But she brings up a good point. I mean, we don't have to rush this.
I think my concern on this, why I was in favor of trying to come up with a name before we start going, is didn't want to get known as the McCaslin Trailhead, which,
Yeah.
it probably will if you, what are they building up in McCaslin? Oh, they're building a trailhead. Oh, the McCaslin Trailhead,
And you want the name Shan Shan to go away.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
That makes sense to me.
I think the historical commission was too efficient and got it back to us too fast.
I mean, I think.
And then we felt
Put a
pressure
name
to
on
do
it
it
after it's
too.
done, or it's design a trailhead with a name in mind of all the
And
design amenities.
I think a lot of our amenities kind of tied in with some of the names we were proposing, which I think kind of just drove the discussion.
So I don't think the amenities matter whatever we put there. It's still about the area and what the historic aspect of that area. I don't care what amenities we do or do not put on there. I don't think it's tied to what we come up with for amenities. I think it's tied to the history of this town. And that's why those top three came up, because we are very heavy in the transportation, rail, thank you, and the coal mining, right? I don't care if we put a steam engine down there with a depot and all that stuff, or we build something that looks like an old mine camp building. It doesn't matter to me. And that's the whole point of why they said Ackland, Morgan. Again, it's about the history of the area, not the amenities that we put on it. And Patrick, when are we breaking ground, and how long are they saying it's going to take to develop that initial trailhead?
So this ended up getting lumped into the overall streets project. So my guess is we'll be construction still like July.
Like late July?
No, I don't know. Well, so much of it depends on how quickly that streets project goes, where we repave parts of Colton.
Okay.
So
And then how
my
long
guess is
for the whole?
probably a month or so of construction, so maybe have it, best case scenario, done by August.
Okay, so August, September.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
so in my perspective, and this is just me speaking, I would like to have it named for the grand opening of that initial phase of the trailhead. That represents, this is what it is. Maybe there's going to be amenities on there that somehow tie into the name. Maybe there won't be, because again, it
That
depends.
makes sense. That's totally.
Right, so,
So it's interesting, so I'm
I
looking.
just wanted to understand, because
No,
it's
that's
a
fine.
different way that we've done it than in
Yeah,
the past.
right.
So I'm looking at
So I really appreciate
the tentative
having
town
those
board
things.
look ahead, and and again, this changes frequently. Right now, the town board wouldn't even probably have a meeting available to really kind of consider it until September. Now, that can always move, but that's how far we're already booked out on board meeting agenda items, is we're now looking at agenda items into September.
Well, we can save this recommendation until we're done with the ranking process.
that's fine with me.
But I think, I mean, do you think, I mean, what do people think about Sean's recommendation that we pass up 2 instead of 3?
I think that makes sense, given the rankings. I mean, given, we've said that a couple of times when we were talking about open space purchases. It's like, oh, well, these are clearly the top tier, and this to me is clearly the top tier, even though mine didn't make it. So.
But then we are passing up 3 names. We're passing up the Historic Commission's name, preferred name,
Yeah.
and our top 2, and so it is 3 names. Okay.
We could submit it not in any particular order. We could just say these, between the Historical Commission and our group, these were the top 3 names between our
Yeah.
2 groups, and just bullet them.
That is consistent with how we presented the
And-
previous names.
You know, we recommend that these 3 names, here's the full list of names that the Historical Commission came up with. And then part of the roundtable discussion, I was going to ask about if you guys had any other names you wanted to add on. I'm good with this set of
I
names.
just don't want to go through the.
No, I'm just, my whole roundtable thing was, I'm a train guy, I like the train names, and that's how I ranked them. And I like that aspect of the history of Superior.
Well, we have Wildflower Park, so maybe by the animals we find on it, but that sort of goes to, let's see what we see there. I'm fine with those.
I mean, what we see here is the history of Superior, so
Yeah,
that's.
I'm fine with that. I love themes. I personally love themes. I would love to see, you know, if we go with the top 2, I would love to see a old train locomotive or something, you know, if you have one in your backyard.
Lines, and, yeah, there are towns around that have those.
Yeah.
Just lying around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I propose that we put the names forward with the recommendation, the name recommendation at the same time as the amenity recommendation to keep it consistent. I've got it written up here, so as soon as we're ready to go, we'll just review it and put it in there. And that way we can wrap up the name piece and get on to the amenities.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
All right, let's get rid of that. No, don't save. Gosh, please no. Okay, so I'm sure you guys have read all the comments of all 43 amenities. Yeah, 43 still. There was one suggestion that we perhaps might want to add as a 44th amenity, even though we have it as, well, I guess we're not ranking it as a trail, so this might be a good time to talk about. Because we have the Coal Creek Regional Trail going right now along that rail bed, and the fact that we're trying to potentially cut off, minimize access points, which was why when we proposed this to BOCO that we were going to be closing down the 3rd Ave, is that what it is, 3rd Ave? But then we realized, well, we still have to have ADA access, and the Coal Creek Regional Trail currently goes through there. Do we reroute it up the hill, and that which then goes back down the hill, or do we move the trail? So for a 44th amenity, do we want to add moving the current location of the Coal Creek Regional Trail to the other side of the fence, or do we want to add moving the fence to the other side of the rail bed so that it's all within, that it gets rid of the extra access point, which is currently on 3rd Avenue, and makes it part of where it is now? So it's either moving or fencing in the current existing where Coal Creek Regional Trail is. So you guys, that was the only topic that came up, which,
I know that this was touched on slightly at the last meeting, but I'd like Patrick's input because you guys deal with that access point.
It's expensive either way.
So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
What would BOCO want? That's the question. Speechless, what?
That is a very clear answer.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're getting a lot.
He doesn't know.
You know, I don't really have probably the strong sense. I mean, so much of it is kind of this Boulder County kind of, you know.
So I guess I don't understand what's wrong with the current setup. Why can't you just leave it how it is right now?
We could, so when we got approval, maybe this is a different approval thing, right? Keeping that access, I don't know. When we initially got the approval, part of the approval process was, will this eliminate other access points?
Yeah.
Because BOCO's whole point was they don't want to have so many access points to the trails. And by doing this one trailhead, we would eliminate two? Are we eliminating just one or two?
No, so Third Ave needed to go away, and then they wanted to essentially like not have cars use the equipment finance building as a trailhead.
So parking considerations for
Yeah.
both.
And this was kind of the, Sean was there, I don't remember who else was there that night.
Ken was there.
Ken? I mean, a lot of their kind of final discussion was, it became a 2-for-1. They wanted to consolidate entry. And we had the discussion a couple months ago about, well, ped access at Third Avenue is probably still appropriate, but we need to make it look a whole lot less like a parking lot. And then so my thought was, we kind of round out that corner, landscape that corner where you can pull a car in now, and then we'll sign heavily down on the street that it's no parking.
But considering it's a regional trail.
And we would force people, through enforcement on our end, our goal, you park down there, you get ticketed until you figure out that you need to park at our future trailhead. And then we would keep ped access only.
So the gate can stay there. You're
The
just
gate
you're
can
just
stay
taking away
there,
the
and I
parking.
think that was a point that Tracy brought up of, we're not, to keep kind of original town ADA type access, that point is a point that has to stay. And that's something, honestly, when I think back to the meeting that we were at, approval, I think Boulder County, I think we were all at the time saying, oh, you just get rid of it, you reroute the trail, but if you look at it now, it doesn't make sense, because then you're kind of screwing over original town members.
Yeah. So I guess I don't understand why anything needs to change besides just taking away the parking.
Right, and we'll probably do some reconfiguration down there, and I think, Sean brought up here at the last meeting is, you move the whole trail, right, like on the insides, so.
But I kind of agree that if you say no parking there, I mean, does it really matter which side the fence is on? Because if you're going to continue on.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if that's the case, because it's still an
Right.
access point.
Right. I mean, you can ride along the side of Third Avenue right now to get up to the escape road or whatever.
So the whole
Or
point
take
was.
the trail to the right.
The whole point was the access points,
Yeah.
right? If you want to force people to have one access point, they'd all have to go through the Shan Shan Trailhead area, right?
Yeah.
So even original town would have to walk all the way over to
Yeah.
get into Shan Shan and then walk back.
Yeah, and it
Or
is, it's a
Culver
little
Crossing.
bit, we've had this conversation now with the access point we put in Coal Creek Crossing. We said, well, if parking becomes an issue, we'll have to sign it. And we are starting to find now that people are parking in Coal Creek Crossing down here and using the new access. So what we'll do is say, it's not that kind of trailhead. We're gonna go out of our way to make it pet friendly, not trailhead friendly.
Right.
We can do things like narrow gates and do that kind of stuff.
But still parking.
Yeah, yeah, we heard pretty loud and clear, like, the original town residents have really never liked Third Avenue. And then we had the issue with the fire trucks not being able to get down the street. And I was out here a couple Saturdays ago, I don't remember what we were out here for, it might have been Arbor Day. And it was cars both sides of the street, you couldn't have gotten a fire truck down there if you wanted to, around the curve.
So, I don't know, again, going back to that point, I don't know what you guys want to do, if we go with keeping it there,
Yeah.
whatever, or, again, if we're trying to force one entry point,
think the path of least resistance for now is making it parking unfriendly, keeping the pet access, and then, you know, as conversations evolve on that lower tier, that I think will become, you know, the lower Shan Shan is what we're starting to call it internal. You know, if there's some kind of configuration down there that we work out with Rogers Farm.
Yep.
You know, and in the future, when we take Coal Creek and we cross it through Grasso Park and, you know, then maybe you look at some kind of other trail configuration
Okay.
down in there. But I think the immediate easy thing to do is just close up the parking.
Okay, so we're not gonna add an amenity.
And let me just, one thing real quick before we start digging in. Patrick, the plan is to get small, medium, large as something ready for a budget recommendation?
Correct.
I mean, the timeline, we're gonna have to have these done. You're gonna have to get them you're gonna have to cost these things out. I mean, when do we need to have?
So I've got, so my initial, like, very high level budget is due by the end of next Friday. So right now I have placeholders.
Okay.
And
Yikes.
but I'm kind of going 20 to 30K, 50 to 70K, 100 to 120K, just so you guys know. This hasn't been looked at by finance. It could come back and they're like, we were thinking 5K, 10K. But I'm looking at all the other stuff, right? Pavilions are 20 grand. Restrooms are, a plumbed restroom's 250 grand. So there, you know, this goes back to, there's some stuff, Tracy, that we know. So we've got the placeholders kind of just plugged in.
Okay.
So we probably need to have this done by the next meeting.
Yeah, dude, I would agree with that.
Right. So everyone's read the email that I sent out and everyone's suggestions on how we prioritize or sort things and prioritize. I went by sorting with priority, then by top 10, then by potential for Shan Shan scores in that order. Does anyone object to that? And then the last suggestion was taking them by category by category, and then pulling out our top from each category. Is everyone good with that?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think about it as a category.
Yeah, that's why I created a category
The way I'm
list.
thinking about it is almost category, you know, what's the most, like, even the categories may fall into medium, right? We may not have a whole category that falls into medium, and then within each category, what the low, medium, high are for each one of those. I think we could get through it.
So why don't we start with
quickly.
just architecture, just go alphabetically. So starting with architecture, this is the current high to lows. So architecture includes, you know, how things are designed. In this case, it's bathroom, small, medium, large. You know, the picnic area and how that looks. You know, just architectural things. The only thing that really kind of stuck out was the picnic area. I didn't know if that should be architecture or what that could be. That could be multiple different things, right? It's a picnic area. I didn't know where to put that, so I just stuck it under architecture.
But that can be combined with the pavilion. I mean,
It could be, absolutely. It could be its own thing or under in a pavilion, right? Depends on.
So, just to make sure I'm thinking about this right, the priority high means that basically 4 people have given us a high, or 6 a medium, or some combination.
Yes, this is the cumulative score of
And then-
everyone's, right?
The other is how many people put it in their top 10, and like,
Yes.
if one person ranked it as 10, you would just see it 10 there.
Correct.
Right?
So in
It's
this
a cumulative
case,
number, right?
that is correct.
Okay.
So in this case, it had the most weight, but it was in no one's top 10, which is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting.
But that one's hard to rank because we don't
Is it-
necessarily have control over that.
Right, it's a style, right? It's not.
Right, but it's not an
It's not a
amenity.
thing that you can really prioritize. So we all agree it's something we really want. We would like to see some historical detail, but why would it be in your top 10? Because it's not a thing. That's exactly how I look at it. And again, the comments probably reflect that, right? If you guys read the comments. You have sunglasses on.
Yeah, I forgot my glasses.
Oh.
It looks really cool.
Yeah, you look cool.
She's just so blown away by all our work.
So real quick, this comes down to a bathroom and a pavilion.
It does.
This would have to be on the lower space.
Mhm.
And do we say low is a lower cost bathroom and no pavilion. Medium is the medium style bathroom with a small pavilion, and the large is a fully plumbed bathroom with a larger pavilion.
We are
Is it
not
that
supposed
simple?
to go by cost, remember? We're supposed to go by desires. Our priority is not the cost.
Okay.
Again, my numbers are just placeholders.
Yep.
I understand that. I mean,
I know, it's a mind,
so how else, how do we do it then?
what do we want?
You obviously want a bathroom.
Well,
Well,
in this
but
case, it
bathroom
looks-
isn't on the list. There's 3 choices of bathrooms, so.
There's 3, well,
I mean, if I want to go into a bathroom, I want a plumb bathroom. A pit, a porta potty is
Patrick said
maintenance.
that was $250, and you did not list, you said your top tier was like what?
Yeah, but the
It's just a
bathroom,
place. Yeah, so I just
bathroom's
put
not
that
a top.
in as kind of a,
But see, I
So
see the
don't
plumb
think about
bathroom
And
as
the
a
board,
high just
I
because
felt
it's
like the board
asking
was
for
very
the
clear, like
biggest.
just
so for,
propose.
yeah, so in terms of buckets, we would say, for our small bucket, we would say the screen porta potty would be in our small bucket. In the medium bucket, we would say
Yes.
a permanent pit would be our medium bucket, and in the large bucket, we would say we want the Taj Mahal of all bathrooms. We want,
right. But none of this is
Everything.
applicable to Patrick's budget because we wouldn't put the bathroom up top anyway, correct?
it's up to, I think that's a decision that you guys
For
may
us to
have to
make.
consider.
Yeah.
Well, there's no room up top.
Right, but his budget is just up top. We're talking the whole
What do you
shebang.
mean, his budget?
The placeholder budget right now,
No,
it's
the
changed in
placeholder
up top.
budget is for, no, that's already in the budget. That's already budgeted for and spent. This is
So
budget for next
your
year.
placeholder is the lower as well?
So with
Budget you're
the,
discussing?
you know, the, what I'm envisioning, or what, and what I thought I heard the board said, and I can't even tell you what meeting it was now. Yeah, it might have been the OSAC dinner, was to come up with small, medium, and large, considering the whole site.
Mm-hmm.
yep, that's what I heard.
Right.
Yep.
Right, so, and again, my numbers are literally like generic numbers. I could have told you guys
Sure.
200.
But are they for the
300,
whole site?
Yes.
Yeah, so
Okay,
your
so that's
large
my-
option,
My
your
misunderstanding.
large option, I would look at it as, what do you want at the top, what do you want at the bottom? Your medium option is maybe a really killer trailhead up top with everything you want. And then your small option is, you know, maybe we're not even thinking about the bottom. Yeah, must-haves. You know, what are the critical, gotta have them? You know, benches, signage, trash cans, viewing area. Maybe the fully blown out is restroom at the top, you know. So, hey, if the full blown item is $500,000, you know, we can present it. You know, I don't know that the board would go for that, but we can present it. And that's what they asked, to your point. They wanted to know the priority. They'll figure out the budget.
I'm confused why we're talking about bathrooms when some of us didn't want bathrooms and wanted it kept as natural as possible.
I think that's what the ranking process was about, was that
Right.
we got to state our preferences for these
Right.
things.
So
And it's-
are we saying the bathrooms made the preferences? Is that
Well,
what we're saying?
if you look at the numbers,
Sorry.
which is
Here we go.
When it came to the
So
top
Numbers am I
10,
looking at?
Like
I think it's-
27, 28, priority 10s for 2 different bathroom options.
How come the large bathroom is not there?
Because you've got a different category.
The large bathroom?
This is, yeah,
Not great.
it's in some other category.
How did that happen? It's all right. Let
I'm
me look
I'm
for it.
confused about one other thing. Can I just ask a quick question?
Not
Is,
sure. I
is there
don't
going to be
know.
parking at the bottom?
No,
No.
So why would you have major amenities where there's no parking?
because of pet access from downtown or from the trailhead around the trail.
Plus there'll be stairs going up and down, plus, what was the other reason? Oh, it's hidden,
Aesthetics.
it's better hidden, because you don't want a whole bunch of crap at the top.
and we don't have space up top anyway. so
Right,
if we
you want to hide as much of that stuff, and if you actually have it visible, you want it to be aesthetically pleasing. So if we, based on the rankings, a lot of people put that stuff on the lower part.
Oh, I mean, that makes sense. As long as people are willing to walk to it.
That's why.
Or ride. I mean, you're riding your bike from down a hill to it.
I think people are.
Okay.
I think if somebody has to use a restroom and it's down at Bottom of the Hill, they will make that happen.
They'll do it. Cool. All right.
Which
I
column
mean, it's a
is
good question, though.
It is
I
a
mean,
great
doesn't-
question.
Which
So,
column is the ranking?
so again, I filtered on priority first is the one that shows up the most, followed by top 10, followed by potential for Shamshan.
So number 2, the rustic outhouse architecture for any on-site bathroom. That doesn't mean, if you voted for that, doesn't mean you're voting for a bathroom.
No, it means that it's a high priority, but again, looking at your top 10, it didn't meet anyone's top 10. So that's why you have to look at kind of both.
Well, how can we efficiently get through this?
I like this category approach.
Okay.
It makes it less overwhelming, I think, at least for me, that I can look at each and kind of go from there.
So do you want me just to show things in the place in the upper tier and hide everything else? So if it has,
No.
I mean, should we,
Okay.
or, I mean, the other option is just to look at the overall rank and just start saying, is it in
okay,
the small, medium, well, it doesn't work
it's
because-
complicated.
No, I
It's
know.
very complicated. Believe me, I've struggled with this mightily. It was not easy.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should start that way. Maybe we just unfilter it and look at number 1 and decide what we would do with number 1. Does it fit into the small, medium, or large?
All right, so, yeah, so again, we have a lot of maps. So again, we have how many categories? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, which is why I like the category thing. But if you, again, looking at maps and signs, we need maps and signs, right? We need maps and signs.
Yeah, but this one's different, though. This isn't a standard trailhead map. This is a interesting map we've
Yep.
seen somewhere else.
Yep.
So what I'm wondering though is, should we work through it like this and say, this is a must-have, let's put it on our low, and then we add other things to medium and large that we'd say, I would like to have that if we could have all-out budget.
Or does the committee just put together those 3 lists and then bring that to you? Is that an option too?
I'm sorry, what was
So-
that?
Does the committee put together the
Subcommittee.
small, medium, large list and bring it to you, or is that not allowed because that's off?
So so what I was doing is I was actually just looking at what we did with Wildflower Park, which became a similar situation. And what I kind of am recalling, looking at the old correspondence is, it was the must-haves. And then it looked like what we did is we started trying to put the must-haves almost in a physical place within the park, fit-wise. So maybe, what's the number 1 must-have?
Sign with all labeled mountain peaks.
Okay,
It was cheap.
so that's in all 3 categories. That's gonna be in the small, medium, and large recommendation. Is that a fair assumption?
Yeah, I mean, anything that's in the small is,
That's what I'm kind of wondering, is it small and then medium
In
adds
addition
on to
to-
small?
Yeah, that's what we did, right? So Wildflower, it was like, this is our core. Now, ProStack at the time, and I'm hearing maybe from Marcy and Vanessa, if the group still wants to discuss what the actual feel is, you'll want to have that really kind of vetted out for the board. If you're kind of a split committee, to me, that feels like the first step that would need to be really kind of hashed out as a group is, are we even at complete consensus that amenities should be added? Or are we just talking parking, right? If you guys are all comfortable with saying, yes, we want to add amenities, to me, just like what Joel was saying, your small are your absolute must-haves. We want them no matter what. Let's say the board is out of money and they're going to give us 30 grand. What do we want? Then your medium is what can we add on to our base, and then our large is what can we add on to our medium. Does that seem to be a workable?
I
so,
think some of us want to keep it as natural as possible.
Yeah, and I would
And
encourage
that
you
would
to.
mean no bathroom, no pavilion,
Yeah.
no.
so if we're keeping it to a minimum, then we should only be looking at anything that we would want to put on the upper tier. Right, and no one would be voting for anything being on the lower tier, correct?
Right.
So if
Why would
we,
you say that?
because that means that we're all in consensus that these should be on the upper tier. So it should be easy to pick those out for the upper tier if we had no budget and we were only going to develop the upper tier.
Okay.
You understand
Right.
why you don't look convinced?
No, I'm not.
Well, that's fine. I was just suggesting it.
Okay.
I was trying to make it easy.
No, I'm all for easy.
I think it makes sense.
So in that case, if we only look at the things where everyone's in agreement that these things here should only be upper tier and not even can be considered for the lower tier, we come up with 16 things, which include, and we don't have to include all 16, but I'm just saying it would include signs of the label Mountain Peaks, dog waste station, double waste bin, maps, I'm assuming that means trail maps.
Which, let me just ask that, I mean, that's standard
Yeah.
at a trailhead,
Yep.
right? When we put in the trailhead over there, there will be a trash can up there, I would assume, and a map. I mean, is that a
Right.
given or no?
I would say we don't have it budgeted.
Okay.
We don't have it
Okay,
budgeted.
that's, okay.
I mean, so first of all, on these 16 things, how many of these things do you guys agree would be small bucket items versus not small bucket?
I mean, the other thing that sticks out to me right away though is 12 and 15, those are an either or. I don't think those are a both. Like all of our bathrooms are an either or, not a,
Oh,
right?
this
the
12 and that
picture
15,
frame
these
or the
two.
gateway.
Correct, I would agree with that. So those could be combined, correct, yep. So we would have to.
So we wouldn't list
pick
both
one
of
no.
those.
Nope.
But in general, I agree. And even the archway at the entry, oh no, that's down by the road. That's, or no, was that at the, no, that was at the trailhead.
Yeah.
So those three were kind of an either or thing to be an amenity to take with photos.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where I was going back to designing the overlook, right? There were three different options for photo opportunities. So it isn't as straightforward as just saying,
Right.
we take these.
This is kind of a category thing.
But maybe it's just those three that we need to decide.
Well, in that case, is the top ranked one, so you just take the first one, right? Because it's the highest priority, in
I mean,
this order of ranking, that's the one that
I
cumulatively.
tend to agree.
Right.
Actually,
We can-
I don't think we need to discuss, we ranked it. and
Yeah,
that
we
would be
ranked
the
it, and
one
that's
we
how it
asked
is.
for.
Well, we need a gate, don't we, legally to be able to restrict the area?
You mean a trailhead gate or a
Oh,
parking?
that's already in the design. The
Oh,
gate's
okay.
already there.
Yeah, trailhead gate
That's-
is there, yeah.
That's in there, okay.
But like, somebody put in the comments, and they're exactly right, that trail actually never gets closed due to muddy conditions. Like, because it's a regional connector and because it's road based, it is always open. I've
It's
never once seen.
always open?
Yeah,
Always
I've never
open.
seen it
Don't we
closed.
legally have to be able to close a trail for
Well,
whatever
it's-
reason?
it's
But
not
what's
our trail.
built, but Marcy, what's
It's
built
called-
into that trailhead is built into every other trailhead that connects to that trail.
It's
So we're not
really our
deviating
trail.
from that.
No, it's
Okay,
Boulder County's
all right.
trail.
Yeah, so I don't think, like
Okay.
21.
I don't know, my first thought is we need to be able to block it off if there's a little, whatever, yeah, okay.
I mean, I kind of agree that the small, we kind of have it here, we just need to weed out a few things.
Yeah, so let me so we're taking those guys here, right? Correct? Copy those, put them in the small bucket. All right.
Nice.
We're not taking that guy. Are we taking the bike rack? I'm assuming we are.
Yep, why not?
Copy that. Try to make this easy for Patrick. Boom. All right. Skipping over the overlook. How about wildlife plant info signs? I'm assuming we want that, right? How about the bike maintenance air station? I'm assuming we want that, right?
See, to me, that starts getting into the
Yeah.
medium.
To me,
So-
that's
But I
medium.
just gut feel.
What do you think, Joel? I mean,
Well-
I like input from people who are doing it all the time.
I mean, my immediate thought is 2 in the top 10 is not very much. I mean, it got a little bit of priority, but not much weighting. There's also one that was put in by the Eagle Scouts down at Colton,
Mhm.
which is not very far. You're also very close to Target, and you can buy some things there.
And a bike shop.
And a bike shop between Target, yeah, that's a great point. I personally didn't vote for that one, even though I
Wow.
bike a lot, but
That's a big deal.
I guess my whole thinking on it was the redundancy between our trailhead here that we're proposing is at Chan Chan and Colton, and the 2 miles that it would take you to get between the two.
But you do think we should have a bike ride?
I didn't vote for that either, but again, I carried my bike inside, so probably not the best person.
Wondering why we would need that.
I mean, bike rack to me means somebody would ride up to the trailhead, lock their bike up, and then go hike.
Or go to a picnic at a pavilion,
Yeah.
and if we don't have a
Or
pavilion.
go take a picture at the
Yeah.
overlook. I mean, we saw at Trails Day, people were using the bike
Sure.
rack there.
Yeah.
Now, they were coming to an event, but
So.
I say we leave that in.
Yeah, I mean,
Move on.
that's a good point. When I go to community park for Chili Fest and stuff, I always end up, using a bike rack or locking my bike to the fence or something, so.
Well, considering we're right next to downtown, I like bike racks, and who knows what other things will be coming over there from Highway 36.
So it sounds like no to maintenance stuff, though,
Surely we'll get
right?
electronic scooters.
What are we saying no to? This guy here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, that
so,
would go medium.
all right, so are we stopping here at small then? Or are we continuing down? Because
I think we stop because
I think we should put the signs in.
I agree with the sign. And then now do we switch over to, well, if we switch to medium, then we need to start considering more than things we would put in the
Well,
upper tier,
The
right?
sunscreen, Patrick talked about just doing a grant, that you have grant money for that, so that's not a
We have a group that's willing to do that.
cost issue.
Well, let's,
29.
I guess, let's just finish this off. So trailhead gate to close off if needed.
I mean, that one,
So,
we kind of decided that that's not necessary, right? There's already a gate there.
one thing to point out is in the last 3 months, Boulder County has switched to ride-over
Yeah.
gates for bikes, along with gates for people who don't want to ride over it or something like that. So they don't even have the access to completely lock it off at this point. down
Yeah,
at Third
that's
Avenue.
true. That's true. None of those are, you can't even lock them off anymore. You know what he's
Keep
talking
cows in
about?
Yeah.
Cattle crossing.
I mean, that's why they have that
Well,
big
wasn't that
pit
the purpose of
underneath
them
there.
anyway, was the cattle?
Yeah, but have you,
Yeah, they're great,
Yeah.
I love them.
so I just don't, I recommend we just leave that off the list. I just don't think that's necessary.
Okay.
I mean, I think,
So
I mean, I
again, we
would-
stopped here with the small. Are there,
but because we know the sunscreen station can be done with grant money, I recommend we put it on the small.
okay, what about the info center if you're gonna do that?
I
Just don't know, what is the info center? I mean,
Has a
isn't-
map of the trail.
I think that's where they, BOCO puts their brochures, and that's where basically, where everything is
So it's
encapsulated.
usually
You
the
are here.
little,
Yeah, you got the trail map there, you got the
Which-
brochures, you
could
got
we
the-
just combine that with the maps then?
Yeah.
Maps/info center?
Yeah,
On the
that-
small?
that's why it's categorized that, so
But I
yeah.
think on the small, we could just make it one line item though,
Yeah, we
instead
could.
of two.
Yep.
I mean,
We only did it two because we prioritized it.
I could see it being a nice place like for the town passports, some
Mhm.
things like that, because right now you go to the pools to get them, which I've always thought is kind of a strange place to get those.
There are a lot of people that come from other areas and they do not know of those trails, and so they're standing at those info centers looking at the map.
Oh, the map, absolutely valuable, always, yeah. So how about we, add sunscreen and put info center with map and call small, good.
Well, what a. Oh,
So
never mind.
the other question I want to ask you guys, is there a priority, once it gets to a certain priority number, cumulative, do we just disregard beyond that?
So can you scroll the top just so we can see what the top range is here? So 24,
Mm-hmm.
and we had 8 people or 9 people that,
9,
9.
Kevin.
So I mean, that's 8 out of 9 gave it 3 or some, 9 gave it
Whatever.
2.5 average or whatever it is. So, I mean, should we kind of mathematically go halfway down that list or something like that and say 27 total points, so somewhere in the middle, 14 and a half, 13, somewhere in there? I mean, I don't see a logical breaking spot in this, because you have 14, 14, then you're like, well, do you count the 12s, and then does the 11 go with it, and then you're at the bottom?
Well, we kind of are doing it by gut feel here, which I think is okay.
I do too.
I mean, I think that we all, I mean, the food beverage vendor area for food trucks, a lot of the discussion was, this is gonna be popular. We don't wanna bring in food trucks because it's already gonna get used, so
Yeah.
the consensus was, we just don't wanna include that. So I think if we just add those two,
So maybe if it gets to single digits and it's not in anyone's top 10, we just
Yeah.
start disregarding.
I think that's
Okay.
perfect.
Yeah.
I think that's perfect.
So let me put those two guys in. I'll combine them later.
Cool.
Patrick, you'll have to forward this to me. All right, so that's our small bucket. Now, how do we want to do medium bucket? So let me put this back
Okay,
in.
real quick, was there any, hold on, before you do that, is there anything here that we think should go into the medium bucket? Like the bike maintenance, air?
Was that the only one that we left out of the
And
ones?
the bottom three.
And the other three that we said were below the line?
Yeah, those are below the line though.
So if we,
Yes, if it didn't make it in the small with the zeros, I personally would put that in the medium.
so we put that in the medium and then we just look at lower to build our medium and large and
Yeah.
then we're done.
I guess I will say that like, one of the things that I tend to use a lot more than like the tools in the station is just a stand where you can put your
Stand.
bike up in it and and spin through the gears. I mean, it's basically just like a makeshift stand.
Mhm.
That to me is more valuable than air stations and things like that. But
I don't remember why I had an asterisk there. Why do we have that?
The asterisk was
There
because
were
there were,
multiple committees.
Oh,
yeah, multiple
right.
committees had the idea.
Right, okay.
Can we add that into that amenity stand? Just so we remember what Joel just said.
Yep, it's just.
slash stand, a
slash.
work stand or something like that.
Okay.
All right, just filter for the bottom.
All right, so let's switch this around. Select all. And we want to make that 0 and make this, there's not many.
I'm glad you're driving here, Sean.
Yeah, I know.
It's like magic.
Wait, that doesn't seem.
So there's nothing on the up, no one, consensus is nothing on the upper, and these only belong in the lower. Although, no one, the last two don't count
Well,
anyways.
we're missing a bunch. Like
We are.
all of them.
We are missing a bunch because there was not consensus. So one person, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's why. So the question here is how do you want to sort, how many? All of them? I don't know. Let's start with these. Let's start with these first, okay? Because these should be low hanging fruit.
Okay.
So we're saying warming hut.
I mean, all of these fall
Bike
below our
jumps.
criteria for consideration.
Yeah.
Single digit and
so,
below top 10, so.
Yep, that's
I mean,
right.
Maybe
So-
this one.
Yep, that's not a good filter. So anything but 0.
Is there a blank, maybe? Maybe it's 0 and blank?
There's no blanks, no.
Okay.
Let's do everything but.
Yeah, so
Yeah, we just need to go down the list and skip the ones that we already,
Take out
maybe
the
we just don't
zeros.
filter.
There we go.
There we go.
All right, so let's see. So now we're starting to get into,
But see, that was an upper. Why didn't that show up in our upper?
because of this,
Mhm.
1%.
Uh,
We can still add to the small. I'm not saying we
It's
don't.
like-
We can now look at the ones, if you want to now look at ones.
No,
We
no,
could-
this is fine, we're good.
Leave it where it was.
I mean, this one, though, to me, isn't new amenity. This is a recommendation for the construction that's gonna start in July.
Mhm.
agreed.
I'd say just put it small.
Yeah, I agree with that. Survey says, small. That would be number 2. Insert. I thought I had that copy.
It doesn't like it when you insert new rows.
No, it doesn't.
Okay.
It's, all right. Okay.
Medium. Medium.
What about the water bottle? Sorry, I'm jumping ahead.
No, I know.
Well,
I'm listening to
So,
Ryan, he's kind of.
what do we want, let's go one by one. What do we want to do with this? We want to put this medium? I think so, personally.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
Medium.
All right, medium.
And I guess we should just make the comment that if anybody has feelings, we need to yell it out before we just run
Yep.
over your,
Yep.
Agreed.
Perfect. Medium for the next two.
Does everyone agree with that? Medium for these two?
I still don't understand number 9, though. where that would be.
On the,
On west side, provide
the
noise.
McCaslin side.
But that's
No,
the
that's the east side.
I mean, trees to me are gonna block the view, so
Yeah.
I don't, this is why I never quite understood this one.
It would be east side, so the direction is incorrect. Because the west side that would be crazy.
Yep.
And I know because it was mine, so I incorrectly wrote the direction.
But so if you put trees though along the whole thing, you're blocking that view as you come up McCaslin.
Yeah, but you're also blocking some noise, and you're blocking when you're at the trailhead, looking out at cars constantly. So trying to make it more of a preserve, a refuge.
Okay, let's just
instead
leave
of-
it. It got voted. I'm fine with it. Thank you for explaining that. But we
Yeah.
want to change west to east.
Yeah, let's do that now. Does everyone agree? East? Okay.
Yeah. I don't think West.
All right, so are we saying both of these? So
Yep.
is this still a medium or would that be a small? I guess that's the question. Because it's a map and how much, I don't know how much, it says signs, plural, so I don't know how many signs we're talking about. Are they around the whole perimeter? Are we looking in different directions? I don't know. And that would be, some people thought it should be upper, some people thought it should be lower, so it'd be dispersed throughout both.
I mean, you're
potentially,
gonna have
but-
all this fencing around the parking lot. Attached to fencing looking out over, it would be easy to add signs. It won't have to be at the trailhead. It'd be easy to disperse the
Right.
historical pieces
So that's,
around.
which is
I think
why
we
I
could
want
just put it
us
on
to,
small.
so this is what was originally brought up by, who was this Oxbow that came up with the original trail design for Lower Shan Shan? And then, Lower Shan Shan, and this was Upper Shan Shan, which is what we agreed to for this. But this is what was originally proposed for Lower Shan Shan with the trees and the parking, and we'd have, I don't know if these were bathrooms or what they were, but this was what was originally proposed, and that's why I was saying, you guys, again, when you're thinking of, when you're ranking these things, kind of have in your mind where that placement might be as well, not just, it sounds like a good idea to put somewhere on the lower, but where would it go?
For me, the
Right, but-
historic sign, it makes sense. It depends, kind of like what Sandy said, it ties into the name. I want to
Yeah.
explain the name.
I think it needs to be in the
Historic
small
sense.
list.
I agree personally, but I'm not going to be the loud mouth.
What if we don't get any of our medium, and then we won't have any historical data there whatsoever?
That's a great point.
Boom, done, small.
It just makes
Small.
sense to explain
Mhm.
I think we got
the name
consensus
too,
on
if
small.
it is a historic reference.
All
Maybe it
right.
won't be.
All right, so back to the east side, medium, right?
It,
And I think
is it medium or is it large?
I think it has enough votes
I-
that it would be
Okay,
medium.
cool. Fire away.
I'm fine with it being medium.
Okay,
Refill.
refill station, medium, so yeah, this is the tricky one, right?
Yeah. I love that amenity.
I do too.
Um,
By itself, how would you do it by itself? I mean, I always thought that would be lumped in with
Right.
like
Yeah.
the Taj Mahal.
Right.
the
It was
Railroad
kind
Depot
of wasteful
bathroom.
by itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
I guess it kind of depends on where we would want to put bathrooms.
Well, and
Or is a medium bathroom like the porta potty, and then the large bathroom is
yeah.
Right.
refill station and plumbing?
Right, so it might be large.
I'm kind of thinking large. Does anyone disagree with that?
No.
No, as much as I love it,
Yeah.
like I want it in the small because I would use it all the time.
Yeah,
but-
I know, I want that and I don't have it.
Yeah.
But we could put it on small, right? And when it comes back and they say, we love your thing, here's your money, and we go look at it and say, we gotta chuck some things out of small, or we gotta bring some things in, we might be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's just put it,
This is, sorry.
no, go ahead.
I was
go
gonna say,
ahead.
this is the thing that when Sean said, what would make this trailhead valuable to you? What would stand out? This is the one thing that really jumped out to me, because there's nowhere to get water on that loop, and I've run out of water. Even though I live across the street, I've, suffered home at times because I was out.
And there is sleeves, as Patrick has told us, that are already going across the road to that upper level, so we could potentially still just have
Right, let's go
water.
small. Let's do it.
Oh, that's
Anyone
right.
disagree?
I took a picture of one that I saw It had like the dog one on the
Yeah.
bottom, they just put them up in Boulder.
Yeah, they're just like a fountain where you step on it for the dog, and then they have one at the top.
Again,
And
it's a
it was
sign.
a water bottle one.
I,
It was so cool.
again, you can just have the whole signs all the way around all the fence posts on that upper level, in my opinion. But that's
Well,
just.
and we already put the picture frame for the scenic overlook area, so the scenic overlook area is kind of implied.
Yeah.
But we can add it to small, but you can't have the picture frame without the.
Yeah,
I think it should
so-
go medium, because we already have the mountain peaks in small, right? And we have the picture frame, and we have historical signs, all in small.
Right.
That's a lot.
Okay. Okay.
I
so
love it, but it seems.
I want to hear from the quiet guys.
Yeah.
Because I know people like birds too, though, so I
Yeah.
don't want to,
It's not a real concentrated bird area,
yeah.
so, do you disagree?
No, I agree
Okay,
with you.
yeah, so,
Cool.
My
Medium and-
hesitation on the bird was always, will the birds that are on the signs ever be there? I mean,
Good point.
that's an excellent point.
or do they migrate in different patterns, and so you're looking for a red-tailed hawk, and it's,
That's the
migrated
first
south
thing.
or
That's
something?
the area.
But I mean, but it doesn't, you don't have to see
At
it there.
least you're
It could just
looking
be
for
an
it, you know?
educational piece of what.
Yeah, when you go out on the trail, so it's not just that area, you're going out on the trail, and you may see something out on the regional trails is the other thing, right?
Let's just go medium
All right, done.
for that, but the overlook has to be small. But I don't know if we need to include it since it's already there as a picture frame.
Scenic overlook area, the whole
It's
trailhead
still
is,
generic.
yeah.
It is, but it was intended to be, I don't know who came up with this, but a space. So
Yeah. so-
wherever that picture frame goes, like you're saying, there's also a little space. So it's not just
I
plopped
think you
out
have to
in the
do it
open
for
space.
safety because people are gonna just be
Right.
blocking, standing out there blocking the trail.
And there's
Here
not
comes
much
Joel
room up there.
tearing down on his bike
Right.
and people get pretty oblivious to what's going on around them, so.
Now granted, we have.
So I think we actually need to put scenic overlook area as a small. I think that's a safety issue.
Okay, so just keep in
And also
mind,
preserving the area, so they're not
Mhm.
trampling wherever that picture frame is.
Yeah.
but, okay, so just remember, this is what we're working with.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
So where would you put it?
You would just
Like
put it
Over here in the corner?
You just put it right here. That big, just a little gravel area that's fenced off over there.
On the Boco property?
Uh-huh.
Okay, if they're okay with that?
Exactly where I envisioned it.
Yeah, me too.
Just because the view there will be stunning.
Yeah.
Marcy, you good with that?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Okay, yeah, this is the Taj Mahal, large, right?
Yeah.
Is that what we're saying?
Wow, that came up high.
Yeah.
People want there.
Do we have much in the medium?
Not really.
No, but that's okay. I mean, the trees,
Trees are expensive.
where did we put the, okay, never mind. Yeah, I mean, I do agree the large bathroom is, well, it is cost-wise, but maybe not in terms of
Right, it's
our
not supposed to be
priority.
off.
It just feels like it's a big ask, is all. I go
It's a
back
big
to.
ask. That is a big ask. Yes, it is. So,
Playing devil's advocate, look at what is going to go in all of this area. It is going to be a, for lack of a better word, fancy area. So it fits, it ties in well with all of the reconstruction, the new construction. But financially, yes, it's a big ask.
So, do we have any plum bathrooms besides Community Park? Those are the only ones I can think of.
Wildflower.
So Wildflower, Purple, Dog Park,
Purple
Are
Park?
those open year
Okay.
round?
they're open year round.
And remember, these are neighborhood parks too. They're surrounded by homes. So it's a little different.
I did not know Wildflower had them.
Yeah, they got the electronic locks and everything. Yeah.
It seems like based on the ranking, it should go in medium.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I think we're gonna have to revisit this at some point.
Yes, we are.
And-
At some point is when.
I know,
When's
but
this due by?
but I think,
2 weeks.
again, I hate to, I
We
don't
might-
wanna rush a process, but I
Well, we
think
might
if
have to have a special meeting to come back.
No,
to
I
this.
think if we stay on pace, we're gonna be done in 10 minutes.
Mhm. Mhm.
Or we, I mean, it's,
Yeah, I'm torn on that just for the fact that I cannot in my head separate cost, which makes me want to go towards high.
Patrick's
But-
laughing at you.
but My.
Welcome to his world.
Yeah, my gut would say it's a medium from our want level.
Yeah, and that's what you need to try to do.
but I think that's where we're gonna have to readjust the list when they say, okay, we wanna do a medium amenity, but here's your dollar amount, it's $250,000. And so the
Right.
bathroom would take everything, so you'd have to throw that down on the list
Yeah.
and pull other things
And-
in.
Sure, and you,
That's
at that point, you
that's
say,
fair
we'll
to
just
go
do
through that
affordable.
process.
Right.
But
Can we
is
cross that
medium
bridge
that-
when we get to it?
Yeah, I think that's the right way to do this, actually.
Is medium that we want the bathroom, and then large is we want it designed in this really cool rustic way, or
Yeah.
in this
Yeah.
like
I think that's a good point.
trail railroad way.
So, and I was thinking of it as medium is we want a bathroom, and large is we want a plumb bathroom versus a porta potty. So I think there's a couple aspects, because obviously aesthetics is going to be more costly than
Right.
just, throwing a porta potty up there like they had at Third Avenue at one point.
And on the note of aesthetics, would we want a porta potty or would we want no bathroom? I'm just
Yeah.
throwing in a wrench
I
there.
don't know if I-
Porta potty's better than no bathroom, because there are no bathrooms anywhere close by there. Well, I guess
Town
Purple
hall,
Park.
But there's town hall and look at all that stuff that's gonna go over there.
Yeah.
Well,
that's
the
gonna be a
hotel,
corner too.
I just think
the
if
public
people need to
bathroom.
use the restroom, they're gonna find a way.
They
will.
And they will choose a porta potty, hopefully, over it than just being outside. So.
Okay, medium it is, let's move on. All right,
Agreed.
so birds of prey perch.
I think medium.
I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well, there are trees there, they can,
There's not really.
no.
It should be medium, but again, we have a couple, we
I
have
don't know.
brains here,
Vanessa,
so
what do you
what's your
think?
thoughts?
I don't think that's Shinshin's the place for that.
So large is what you're saying. That's like a, if,
I think you're,
and,
Peter, what do you think?
I mean, it got no top 10 votes.
it got no top 10, but it does have its double-digit
But
priorities.
we also, I mean, we also have some experts in the room that can help guide us on this. I'm willing to.
I'm not excited about it.
Okay.
Either.
All right.
Then let's, I think we should remove it.
I'll just leave it there, I just won't
We
put
have
it in the
other
bucket.
ideas about that.
Okay.
We do. What are your other, in 20 seconds?
Let's move on. We gotta-
All right, rustic outhouse architecture for
I got
any
vetoed.
on-site bathroom. We were saying that would be large, correct?
I think so.
All right, because we're saying we want fully plumbed,
Yeah.
but if we want to go big, we want
Yeah.
the cool
If I had to cut something where they're fully plumbed or pretty, I would probably go pretty.
Go, yes, exactly.
True, good point.
All right, next is stairway for exercise.
That's
Well,
almost a medium,
yeah.
with the number of top.
you kind of have to if you're going to have a lower tier. You got to have a way to
Yeah.
get up and
Yeah, I
down
agree.
between the
I agree.
tiers. You have to make it medium.
Yep.
Okay, oops, category, okay, here we go. So small, this is the Porter John. What do we want to do with that? We already have a bathroom. Do we have a bathroom this small? No, we don't have a bathroom this small. So this is the decision point, guys. Do we want to have a bathroom or no bathroom for small?
Yes.
I don't want to stare at a
I'd
porta
say
potty up at the
medium.
top of that trailhead when I drive up the road.
I don't either.
Porta potties are more expensive than having, like a building with an outhouse.
I'm sorry.
Are you
So,
talking about a porta potty that like
that's,
truck comes in?
yes.
They're more expensive.
Then a permanent pit.
and regulated by the federal government versus if you put in like an outhouse, like a.
A permanent pit.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is the next one down.
Then I would, then my vote would be to take off the porta potty and put the permanent pit.
So, again, we're looking at small, medium, large. Where do you want to put the small versus the
Yeah, I
medium
guess,
bathroom?
well, see, I think that's the thing is permanent pit bathroom, is it a small, medium, or large? And I guess we all probably need to throw it out because you just said large. In my head, I say medium. So,
But we
Okay,
have the
so
running bathroom.
we already have a permanent pit under medium, which would be included in large already. So it would only be under the small category, right? We're doing
There's just no room
cumulative.
at the top.
And there's no room at the top, in my opinion, either.
And it's
Unless you put it down in the valley where Vanessa's kids are gonna play on that shed.
No, I just think if we have to,
That could be the bathroom.
I think a bathroom has to be on the lower, so we can have a medium and large option. The hard part is we could, based on maybe we need to have it be bathroom, and, well, no, that's not gonna work. But we always know we could downgrade a plumbed bathroom to a
Permanent
pit
pit.
We can.
if we needed to for cost.
Patrick,
So that's where it come,
by 2022, you're not allowed to have a pit in Boulder County.
what?
Yeah. You have to have plumbed toilets by 2022. We're having to do that on my property right now. I'm like going
Wow.
through this.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I'll have to look into it. That'd be kind of
I
dangerous.
mean, Colton Trailhead is a
Yeah.
I
permanent pit.
know,
Yeah.
I know.
The
but
county
that's-
themselves,
Hey guys, we have 5 more things to get through.
Okay.
We really either have to stay on
Just-
task or
that
do a
might be
special meeting for this. I mean, we're already,
How many-
we're an
how
hour
many
and a
more?
half behind.
Sean, how many more amenities are left?
A few.
Oh, man.
Okay.
13?
I think if we stay on task, we can get them done,
I would like to.
but let's stay on task.
So what do we want to do with this?
I think that we just remove and not put it on either, on any. That's my suggestion.
So, does anybody really want a porta potty?
No.
No? Anyone? Okay, let's just get rid of it. Leave it. Move on, Sean. Next one.
Yeah, good. Well, permanent pit.
I mean, this is where I think we could downgrade our plumbed bathroom to a permanent pit if we're allowed to and if budget was an issue.
So again, that goes back to, do you put the
I think you put it as a
plum-
note to the plumbed on the large, that if there were budget constraints, we could downgrade this to a permanent pit.
Do we make a note or do we cross the bridge when we come to it? 'Cause we
Why
don't-
don't I just put it here with it?
All right, good.
Okay?
Yep,
We'll
I'm fine with that.
call it a day. All right, Zero, how do you pronounce that?
Xeric.
Xeric Landscaping.
I think that's large.
I would agree with that. Large it is. Anyone disagree?
Can we look at these, or
Yeah, let's
anything
look at 'em.
else not medium in this list? And then everything else is large? I mean, binoculars are probably,
We start to fall out of our categories there pretty quick.
yeah, that's
So
what we
then-
do.
How far are we going down? What was the,
Well,
we said single digits.
I mean, I think we're going down to overlook, right? I mean, maybe interpretive garden, but it's still the,
It's a judgment call.
So let's start with this, what I've highlighted. Do we want to put all of these under large?
I think so.
This picnic area, I mean, we didn't have anything under medium for pavilion, right? So are we good with putting the pavilion under large, which would include the picnic tables?
Yep. And I would say take off the binoculars because they're a maintenance nightmare.
Are they?
They are?
Yeah.
Like,
Interesting.
okay.
Does anyone object to that?
I don't.
What's
I've
the
seen them.
maintenance
I've
involved?
just tried, have you
Are they
used
just
those?
scratched up,
And they're so
or-
scratched that you
Yeah.
can't use them?
Is that what it is? Okay.
And they get foggy and sandy and
Right, moisture, yeah.
Good info.
Alrighty. And we're going down to where? Are we going down to webcam or not webcam, since we're not having a perch for the webcam?
No, I mean,
No.
So those two for large.
but I mean, even those had 0 top 10. I mean, we're kind of below our threshold of where we
We
were.
really
cut
are.
off.
So
Awesome.
the question is do we want to include even these two?
I think a pavilion should be on the list. If
And the
we're building
charging
a
station?
bathroom-
Medium pavilion was already on the list, right?
Oh, it was?
I think it was above the mini pavilion, wasn't it, Sean?
Hold on.
Was it on medium?
It's down here is
Oh, I'm
medium.
wrong, I'm wrong. Then I agree with you.
So no webcam, no sledding hill, no medium pavilion, no interpretive garden, and no emergency phone. Is that,
I feel great about that.
you feel good about that? Are we good with that? All right, so what have we missed is the
Can I ask,
question.
oh, Patrick left.
All right,
he's
so,
actually just sleeping under the desk.
He just ran out in the hall for a second, I'll be right back.
What were you saying, Sean?
so the ones that, okay, so we also did not include
Yeah, that warming.
the warming hut.
I think that goes large.
are we
Well,
getting?
but if we're looking at the numbers,
Well, but it has 4 top 10s.
oh, good point.
So we would potentially include that, right? So
Same
that would be
with the
large,
interpreter.
right? And then also these bottom two, I think those are,
Well, those are too small.
they're too small and they got 0 top 10,
Can we,
so.
what are we doing with the interpretive garden? Are we putting that one in?
No, we said it.
Interpretive garden
What's
was
that?
below,
What was 7 top 10? I think we need to
I don't remember.
put it on large.
What did we do?
I mean, it fits the criteria, so we just need to add those 2 to large. And
All right, then we're done, right?
that's huge.
Yes.
All of that work has now come to fruition and you've got a list.
Oh my God, I'm so excited.
It's just so
Don't
hard.
lose this.
Yeah.
I did that today at work, and it's very fresh in my mind. Don't lose your important word.
Okay, so,
Happy
okay.
birthday.
So when Patrick comes back, he'll send this to me. Patrick, make sure you send this to me. I'll go through and make sure we have everything, and then I'll send it right out to everybody once I've done a spot check of everything. So right now, again, let me sort this real quick here. Oh, gosh.
Here, let's just say that we're gonna do a spot check offline, and if there's any corrections, we'll do it.
That's fine, go ahead. Go on to the next thing.
Okay.
If I need some more time, I'll let you know.
Okay. So the next item is we do have, wait, deep breath.
Yeah, this
We can
is-
move on, switching gears here, but we do have dates from Louisville on when they would do a joint meeting. There's 2 things we need to decide. Number 1, they meet the same night we do. So that makes it challenging if we were to do a meeting either at their meeting or ours. Just logistically, we would end up giving up a meeting. And I'm not sure if there's enough room in our work plan to give up a meeting.
Were they not open to doing it before our meetings? Which I thought is what I'm quite certain that's
I
what we
think
did
they
the last
are,
time
but
we met
even
up.
then, if we meet there, we still gotta get back over here.
Yeah,
We
it'll be
still
short.
lose. But I think that's doable. I think if we met an hour before their meeting, got in our cars, and we just said the meeting would start 15 minutes late, then we would be okay. So the dates we have are August, September, October, or November.
So you're out August.
I'm out
Sean's
August.
out August.
Okay, let's mark that off.
Yeah, Especially since you're our chair, I
September-
don't think it makes sense.
September 11th,
Oh.
everyone's back in school. Boy, that's a rough day.
Yeah, I would vote to not do.
Wait. What's wrong with September 11th? Everyone's back in school by
9/11.
August.
It's just
Oh,
I mean, not that that matters for open space, but I don't know, it's a bad luck day, maybe, I don't know. But if it works for calendars.
I don't know.
I mean, here's the
Sports
thing.
really starts up hard in October and November, so
I mean, sports, yeah, for me, it's all of that, right? Once school starts, sports are. So,
Usually it's-
But I can make it work around my sports schedule, so, I mean, that's so far in the future, we just need to pick one.
I'd say
So-
sooner rather than.
I'd say September. I have no problem with September.
All right. So recommend September 11th, any objections?
So they meet at exactly the same time too?
Pretty sure they do.
Can we go to them because they came to us last time?
They offered that, right? Where did
They offered to come here?
No, they offered
to host.
to
Okay,
host.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. So I'll send Patrick the date, but we'll suggest September 11th. It obviously could move, and we'll go to October as a secondary date.
Perfect.
And it'd be like at 5 or?
We'll have to see what time and then we'll have to, on that date, we'll have to adjust our meeting time accordingly. But I think that's better than trying to pick another date of trying to get all committee members. At least we're all scheduled that night, so. Okay. Okay, so now we have to develop our budget recommendations for next year. So this is quite, actually, no, this isn't hard because we're already doing it. Right, our big budget item is Shanshan, which we just spent a ton of time on. The one question I have is, do we want to ask money for bird viewing? We shelved that in the past when we started to get that consultant out and looking at how much it was. I think there's interest within the community to have bird viewing cameras. So I think think we should ask for it.
Seems popular on social media.
Yeah.
There's
Yes.
at least one trustee.
Yes, okay, so we'll ask for that.
That's me totally sucked in.
Okay. And we started to get an idea of what it was gonna cost when Allison was looking into it at the end of the year. We just knew that trying to sneak it into like unbudgeted items, it was getting to be too big. So we'll just get it on the budget. The other item was minor trail updates. I don't think we'll have the trail ranking done in time for that. So I think what we should do there is if something comes up and like we really feel like it's important at the end, maybe we can ask, and if the budgets aren't done, we'll just see if we can sneak it in, but I just don't think we'll have enough data to be able to ask for anything.
We have a general placeholder in our annual operating of about 50K for trail.
Okay.
For that very.
Okay. So one thing though that kind of leads us into Town 15 concept planning and ProStack leadership meeting is a bigger issue. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the ProStack leadership meeting that Kate and I had with Todd, who is the current vice chair. And we had a great meeting, great guy. We started talking about Town 15 and how we would go about planning amenities, but what it evolved into was that and then we also started talking about the soft sidewalk trails, you know, that even came up in the board meeting, I think, on Monday, and these other little things. And what the whole takeaway was, we don't have a master plan that we're working against. And it seems short-sighted to spend time on picked ideas that we don't even know how they rank in the whole master plan. And are we really spinning our wheels and really doing all of ourselves a disservice by not having that master plan to work off of? And so the other thing that I'd like to include is to support ProStack in requesting funds for a consultant to update the PROS master plan to help us with all of this. And so if you all agree, then I think we should add that to the list of our budget recommendation.
Agreed.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't think I'd get much objection from that one, but
Enthusiasm.
yeah.
Sorry, are we talking about an updated, like a civic plan, right?
PROS master plan.
And the Parks
plan.
Rec, open
Oh,
space.
just the Parks and Rec?
But, yes.
Yeah.
Park Trek, yeah, so it's, the last one was 05,
Yeah.
and it's, you know.
I mean, we actually even have this on our work plan to contribute to any sort of PROS
Yeah.
master plan update
Yeah,
that may come
I
up.
think I suggested that, what, a
Yep.
couple of years ago.
But, I mean, but as Parks and Rec, they need help, right? They need budget to be,
Yep.
or the town needs budget to be able to go.
So we gotta
do this.
recommend
It's
it.
not gonna be done from a committee.
Well, and I tell you, like, we've locked it up now about 4 years in a row. But when the board approved the CAPS, Cultural Arts and Public Spaces Master Plan, I mean, these things can't work in silos.
No.
And a big portion of that original PROS master plan is open space.
Mm-hmm.
So it will become, you know, kind of a guiding document for this group and ProStack, as well as we were thinking as staff of having whoever the consultant is, if it's approved, also lay out what public engagement strategies should look like in this kind of current environment. So.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Awesome.
So that takes us to the Town 15 concept planning. So this goes back to what I was talking about, where the board had asked us to work with ProStack to come up with these ideas. The more I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking it might be premature without a PROS master plan. I don't know if you all agree, or how we would even take that back up to the board to say, board, we heard you, we started talking about this, but without this other document, we're not sure that it's, you know, we should be picking amenities without that guidance. So that's something we can discuss. It's not that I don't want to do the work, and we actually have a plan worked out with ProStack on how we were going to do this. We were going to essentially take their they have a whole amenities list that isn't built. And we were going to get that, and then we were going to add any other ideas, and then we were going to rank them and start looking at what we would put on Town 15. And we were going to do this actually with leadership meetings, with some discussion in this group, but the work of leadership meetings with PROSAC and OSAC on another meeting that we would schedule to just make it all work. And again, we're willing to do the work. I'm concerned we're gonna pick the wrong things as the most important next things that the town needs.
I think that's an evolving thing as the town fills out. I think Town 15 becomes nothing but more important as all the other spaces go away. We're adding a lot of residents in the next decade. And what we need today may not be what we need in 10 years.
Well, and I think the board just wanted to have an idea that if something came up again and they wanted to vet that against what our ideas were.
Yeah.
So we need to somewhat weigh that, but.
Yeah, I don't, that's what I was, is it a chicken egg situation? I mean, it could be the other way around. Maybe they're waiting for us to provide some suggestions to help with the pros master plan.
Well, I think Sandy made the recommendation, so.
As long as you guys are as long as you're working together, that's, you know, and if you guys agree that the next step is that you really need to work together on the pros master plan, I think we're okay.
And actually, that's a good point. That is a step towards getting a town 15.
That is,
It's
you
just a
know,
longer
that you feel like it's
timeframe.
premature to do that.
Okay.
You know, you've really grappled with what are the Parks, Recreation, open space priorities. I just don't want us to get caught short again, and my point was, I don't want OSAC and PROSAC coming at it separately. I want them coming at it jointly.
And
That-
both of the leadership groups both agree, and we're in a good place to be working
Yeah.
together on that. So would we make a recommendation to the board then on that, we'll make a recommendation about the budget pieces.
Yeah, well, I think it's very easy for you to say, you know, we don't think this is we're not going to attack this in our work plan this year because we really feel like it's premature until we've done the proper planning, which would mean, you know, I think that's certainly appropriate to say this. Just because you put it on your work plan doesn't mean you got to do it. You might
So-
run out of time.
How do we push that up to the board? Does that become a
That'll go-
recommendation?
So so I'll make we'll capture it tonight.
But do we need to make a recommendation right now and vote on it as a group for this?
It'll
or-
go through the budget process, so if you guys are feeling like you're ready to vote on it as an item that you would like to see brought forward to the budget, then get that list.
And I guess I skipped that for the budget items. Is that a formal recommendation
Yeah.
that we need to make?
Yeah, so the price I got last year was $74,000 to update the master plan.
Oh, great.
Um,
That's exactly what I wanted to know.
Yeah, so that would be a budget recommendation from OSAC and PROSAC to support the board approving the funds for the master plan.
I guess what I'm at, for tonight, for our minutes, do we need to say, OSAC recommends for the 2020 budget that we include a bird camera, the Shan upgrades that, you know, plans are coming soon, and pros master plan
Yeah,
development.
if you guys have consensus on those items and are ready.
Okay. I guess I completely skipped over that. I'm going fast because I'm tired, but are there other things that we want to consider? I shouldn't have gone that fast through that.
Can I ask, where is all of that funding coming from?
General fund.
Okay, thank you.
I don't know.
Is that true for Shan? Would that be general fund?
Shan is, sorry, in reference to the master plan.
The pros, the bird stuff, and all
Bird
of
stuff
that.
would be open space.
Okay.
Pros master plan will be general fund.
Okay.
And what was the other item?
Shan is obviously.
Shan's open space.
That's pretty much what I was going to talk about under my section, except I wanted to also include Scott looking not only for a good place for a webcam, but just period, good places for nest boxes in our town. So I don't know if that would probably raise the cost a little bit, because you'd need to spend a little more time. Although I think you would look everywhere anyway when it came to just the camera. Then also just some extra cost of getting nest boxes and putting them up.
Okay.
Does everybody know what the difference is? So nest boxes is basically just replacing large mature trees that are gone and giving the birds a cavity to put their nests in, which a lot of birds nest in cavities like that. And so we were just talking that now that we know we have a great raptor population, it'd be great to just look at what would be the ideal places to put nest boxes, as we're also looking for an ideal place for a webcam.
And it would be worth it to do it right on the front end, than
Yeah.
place them places that are not going to be effective.
Yeah.
So I think it seems worth the money. Do you have estimates?
I do.
We don't, can we show
I do.
that?
Sure. Yeah?
Just send them
Okay.
Yeah.
for
Perfect.
contacts. I know Allison's got some of it, so if you,
We just need to vote on it.
yeah,
Yeah.
we'll get after it for sure.
Yeah, that's, I don't know if I should talk about this now or.
So, let me read the, OSAC recommends the board consider the following items for the 2020 budget: the Shan Shan Trail amenities, bird nest boxes and viewing cameras, and updating the pros master plan.
Sounds good.
Is that sufficient?
It is, and then what I'll do is I'll start filling in the blanks with the financial piece of it.
Okay.
Keep you guys in the loop.
Does it need to say evaluation? Because that just says boxes and cameras. Doesn't say paying him for his services.
I mean, I can give you the exact guy and.
Well, we're not gonna put that in there. That doesn't need to be,
Evaluation and placement.
Perfect.
yeah, I like that. Okay, so let me read this again. OSAC recommends the board consider the following items for the 2020 budget: the Shan Shan Trail amenities, evaluation and placement of bird nest boxes and viewing cameras, and updating the pros master plan. Should we add, to facilitate Town 15, joint Town 15 recommendations? I mean, does that detail help or not really? It makes it pretty wordy.
No, and Sandy, you want to chime in? I think if the board knows that we're working on a master plan that's wrapped up Town 15 and somebody comes in with like a development proposal, the board has the cover to say, you know what? We're working on a master plan process to define what we want to do with
Okay.
that property.
Okay.
So I think the board would have good cover.
Okay.
Cool. Great.
Okay, so, does anyone want me to read it again?
No.
Okay. Would
No.
someone like to make a motion to pass the recommendation as read?
I'd like to make a motion to pass the recommendation as read.
I
Thank you.
second it.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, passes unanimous, thank you.
Great.
Okay, and so that also covers our Town 15 concept planning, that we have a start. I think, Kate, we're just gonna need to get back to Todd.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if it makes sense to even meet on the 20th
No.
anymore, which was our next date. And,
And I'll just let them know that we made the recommendation.
yeah, and if they disagree, then we can revamp this, but
Oh, I
I
did
think that that's
yes.
good. Okay, so updates and look ahead. So ProStack leadership meeting, I did cover really what we talked about. It was really efficient. We met for 50 minutes, worked through these issues, came up with an okay plan until we realized we need the Postmaster plan. But it was really good. It was good to get to know Todd, and he was the only one that could attend. They would normally have someone else. I guess Corey is underwater with a lot of things at home, his personal life right now. So
But he's saying,
Todd's like,
he's still chair.
you still chair, but Todd's like, I'm gonna own this and have Corey be able to focus on other things. So, but it was great. We'll continue to do it as needed. Like we said, we did agree that our work plans both will have comments about agreeing on new trails to rank in Q1. And then we'll finalize the map then, and then rank in Q2. So we have agreement again. We'll see if we can stick to it. But I have a methodology that I'm using, work plan items, to get work plan items going for next year, so.
Just save my list of trails.
Oh, they're-
You have it? Yeah, I
they're
saw,
there.
yeah, I
No,
saw
I'm-
that. Yes,
yeah,
just as long as
we're
they
good.
can see that.
I listened. Okay, so National Trails Day debrief. So while you guys are talking, we also need to draw the drawing winners.
This was my first meeting last
So,
Oh.
Tracy, you want to do the honors?
I was on the open space.
You don't have to.
I want Kate too.
Okay.
Why?
Because
All right.
she's.
Because it was your first meeting last year when
Yeah,
we did this.
she's
Now
vice
you
chair.
understand.
I sat
Okay.
over there and froze.
This is a good thing.
You're sitting over here.
No, I'm sitting over here.
Well, I can come to you, Kate.
All right.
I'm just gonna need to breathe like it's.
Are we drawing from polls first?
Hold first, yes. So,
Can we add that to the budget?
I miss
There
the
you go.
cups.
Good luck.
Big
Thank you,
cups, those
thank
are
you.
the best ones. I love those.
I'm taking suggestions.
Beth Waterman.
okay, congratulations, Beth. You got some trekking poles.
Yay, that.
All right, let's just, I'll mark on that. And then Allison said she would help us
Yep, we'll
distribute
get 'em
these,
out.
so.
Cool.
And now the backpack.
Megan Sims.
All righty. Congratulations, Megan.
Oh, two. Wait a minute.
Do you want to keep those or?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So other people want to debrief? I mean, I will say we got really good kudos from the board on Monday for those that attended. It was very positive, and I appreciate you, Sandy, explaining the horse carriage. It was unfortunate, but when you break down, right? I mean, what are you going to do? So,
Yeah, no, it was nice. It was nice having a lot of the trustees show up. I felt like, with the overflow parking, I don't know how many people we had. What do you guys guesstimate in terms of attendance?
Terrible. That was Allison's
Yeah.
forte.
no,
was being
I
honest
think
with
we,
you.
at one time we probably had, I think I counted 30 or 40 cars over in the
Yeah.
overflow.
Yeah,
So that was significant.
they're all coming through.
Similar number as last year, it felt like to me.
Yeah, with the
Speak up if you
Hot
thought
Quest and the Snake.
Seats were all full, people standing.
Yep, yep.
Yep.
It was a nice day. We held out until the very end until it started looking like it was gonna thunder and lightning on us, but yeah, no, it was a fun time, and we had a lot of people asking questions, and yeah.
We did a good job of collecting lessons learned, and that's now a document in our Dropbox. So when we get prepared for next year, we had some logistical issues with some maps. That's partially my fault in that normally the way it works is when we go to the first event, Arbor Day, we say, keep everything, but we didn't tell people that went to Arbor Day to do that. And so that's on me, right? We just didn't do that. So what we're gonna do in our work plan for next year is we're gonna actually assign a event swag coordinator, that your job is for each event, get the stuff to them and afterwards get it back. And that way we just know where everything is. So that's gonna be our plan on that. That was just a miscommunication. The other ideas were maybe zero waste snacks for the kids, instead of all these little juice boxes and everything, and we were picking up a lot of trash. That was a good recommendation. But overall, I think it went really well. The hats and the shirts look great. It was good. I really enjoyed it. So.
Thor made his debut at National Trails Day, the tortoise.
Oh, he was so cool.
It was great.
Yeah.
It all went well. We had a lot of great support from trustees. That was
Mhm.
awesome.
Yeah, and Allison, I'd like to thank Allison. A lot of work goes into this. I'd like to thank the Youth Leadership Council for being there and doing their work. I took time out of there Saturday to be there. Got to talk to them. There were
Cub
some
Scouts.
nice kids that were being there. The Cub Scouts, that was interesting because normally that was through Patricia. The very last minute, they reached out and said, hey, it's coming up. Do we have our booth? I'm like, oh, wow, yeah, there's room. But so next year, also in that document, we have the contact names, so we know exactly where to go to get the Cub Scouts for next year.
So where's that document of lessons learned?
It's in the Dropbox.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sent out me an email, or I got an email notification that it changed or something, but
Maybe, yeah, I mean, we're trying to put all these things in that Dropbox folder, just so we're not managing documents in email, so.
And since you're thanking Ashley and Boko was,
yes.
Ashley's always awesome and Boko was great.
I agree. Yeah, Ashley's great. And Boulder County, the Prairie Dog.
Yeah, they were great.
The
They even
Vanguard
helped us
display.
tear down.
Yeah, they were fantastic, so, thank you. Okay, open space summary report and recommendations document. has anyone had a chance to look? And if you say no, you're not gonna hurt my
Nope, I
feelings.
have not had a chance.
No
I actually looked through it today, nothing jumped out to me. I mean, it looked solid and polished to me. I thought
Okay.
the format looked good.
The one question I have is last time when we did it, it was easy to reference the initial document. Now that we're our second upgrade in, a year and a half later, do we keep referencing, even the previous document? So for example, we've got the original map, and then we have the map from when we did it last time, and now we've got the current map. It's starting to, like the first time that made
Yeah.
sense.
I did notice that a little bit because I was reading the document and then, just kind of naturally scrolling, and all of a sudden I hit Appendix A, and I was like, whoa, this is a time warp.
Yeah.
Because it jumped way back to all these available properties. And I had to kind of stop and remind myself why that was, because then like the next slide down is, well, here's what we really have.
And what we really have actually was what we really had last time.
Right,
It isn't
it's
even
even
what
less
we
now,
really
yeah.
have, which that map's further up.
Yeah.
So I think I'd like to just get rid of the history because that document is on the website. And we could just include a reference to that document.
Yeah.
If you want the historical. I mean, we have the nice section also that talks about the old property and the status that it is now. But that would be the only thing I'd like to clean up to simplify the document.
If you think it would look better, I'm all on board as long as we have a reference.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think maybe I would even reference original update 1, and this is update 2, and, okay.
I like the way that it flows through there, that you have the property, then you have, an update of May of 2019, and then there's, dialogue on what changed, so.
Okay. So my plan will then just to finalize it by the next meeting, proofread it, spell check it. If anyone reads it before then and wants to provide any input, however you want to provide the input, if you want to track changes or just say, hey, this seems a little wordy. I did add a section in there when we talk about acquisition techniques of using nonprofits that focus on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Since that work has been so valuable to us. But what I think I'll do is I will, by the pre-read next time, I will have this done. And then we can agree that it's complete, and then we can take it up to the board after that. So that'll be good to get that done.
Thanks for all that work.
Okay, oh yeah, you're
Machine.
welcome. So Coal Creek reconstruction, so we walked the trail. It's what, 99.9% done?
Looks great.
It's pretty awesome. So I think that this can come off our updates and look ahead since it's now open. Or would you guys like to keep it one more, or for a while?
I would like to keep it until all the plants are planted and trees are planted.
Okay.
Because that's still something that's in progress, which hopefully will be done
Okay.
soon, but I did
I want to
notice.
see it 100%, right? 100%.
Well, I did notice that there were some of the large trees that are on the FDP that are not
Okay.
anywhere there yet.
That's
And
a valid
we just
point.
want to track and make sure that those
Okay.
all do get put in.
Yeah.
All right, so the other thing is 4th of July event will be here before our next meeting. Can you believe that 4th of July is here that soon? So I'll do my normal thing, I'll just circulate. Karen sent out an email saying, do you guys want booth space? I assume we do, because it's always a great time to talk to residents about open space issues. I'll just circulate an email saying, maybe we break it up into 2-hour shifts and
Yeah,
who
that's
can
pretty
make
manageable.
which 2-hour session.
We need our signs and everything.
Yeah, and I agreed. We'll have to work through Patrick to see if we can find where everything went from Arbor Day. Allison thinks it's in the storage locker, but we just want to try to find that sooner rather than later.
I can reach out.
Because we have the rest of the swag.
I can do that. I can reach out to Alice and
Okay.
just kind of take that on, and that way I'll
Okay.
have them. That's fine.
But if we have I have all the leftovers in my house. So we have a ton of water left over, a ton of juice. I think we can just bring that to 4th of July. I think it's what we did last year and just hand it out.
Yep.
Get some coolers again and do that. Yeah, and we have the sunscreen, we have our little flyers on how to get more information, we have our talking papers, we'll have our maps, so, and any bird information that you guys want to bring, like I have that other poster that you had on the birds at my house also that I'll bring, so.
So speaking of budget, do we want to mention anything from lessons learned for budgetary reasons, like the tent that has the designated town of Superior?
Oh, yeah, that's all, I mean, it's all in the document.
But
Oh,
for,
so do we want to redo our recommendation on budget?
to include that.
Can you be more specific?
So during our lessons learned process, we were coming up with ideas of things we wanted to add, like more signage, or
Yep.
we actually added something for a dedicated tent that we don't rent, that we actually have as a town of Superior tent that actually says town of Superior on it, so we don't look like every other tent out there. We have, everyone says, oh, that's the town of Superior
Got it.
tent.
But who's gonna put it up? That's what I worry about.
What-
Oh, when they
no.
do the setup, the town people do
Yeah.
the setup.
I thought it was the rental company that did the setup. Is it the-
No, we're just
Like
talking
the
like a small 12 by 12. Like
Oh,
just a small
okay.
12 by
Thank
12.
you. Could you see
Yeah.
me freaking out about
Yeah,
putting up?
yeah, no more cement blocks this big around, no.
Oh, okay.
Is that, would that be something?
I don't know if we need to do that, so,
Sorry.
I don't, yeah. I don't think you don't need to make special budget
Okay, good.
recommendations for stuff like that.
good.
Okay,
Yeah.
cool.
But we just wanted to make sure you're
Yeah.
aware of it.
But we thought that would be a good thing for when the committees are at these events where all the other
That's
tents
a
look alike.
great, I mean,
Okay.
that's a
cool.
great idea.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I will just circulate an email and let people just reply and let me know who can do when. I'll be in town, so I'll be around the whole time, so chasing my kids around, it'll be fun. Okay, we're on to standing updates. So Conservation Fund update, and I got the spelling right this time, I think.
Thank you. So the town and the Conservation Fund are still continuing to communicate with CenturyLink. And they're talking to leadership about our desire to acquire it. And they have made some progress, however, they still have a ton to iron out, and we don't have any further details or specifics than that. We're just hoping that that progress keeps moving forward, and a lot of steps yet to do. So, to be determined.
So just as a side, how many acres is CenturyLink? I forget.
About 180.
180. So Shanahan Ridge is also about 180, and it just went up for sale for $10 million.
Shanahan Ridge.
That's Shanahan Ranch is right next
Oh,
to Shanahan.
Shanahan Ranch, sorry.
Yeah.
They
No,
said
Ridge, it's a
Oh,
ridge.
sorry, Ridge is next to the ranch.
And you said Ridge.
Sorry. And then, so yeah, that just went up for sale.
Wait,
for $10
Shanahan
million.
Ranch?
Yeah.
It's been for sale for a long time.
No, it just went up. It was down for a while. It was 6 million years ago. They took it off and just went up again for 10
It's
million.
my wife's aunt that owns that property.
Your wife's aunt?
Mhm.
Wow.
Oh, well, it's public again. It wasn't
Right, but they
public.
had it up there for a long time, then they took it down. But I mean, when
For
I said a
years.
while ago, it was last year.
Oh,
So
no.
where is this property?
When you're going north on Broadway,
93.
or south on
Just
on
before you hit
93,
city
right
town
when you
limits.
come out, like right to the first area where there's green space on the right, there's a ranch tucked back over there. They've got a long history with Boulder County, so I don't think that will ever be open space, but I'm not an expert there, but
Why?
it's complicated. So,
Anyway,
yeah.
I mean, they're advertising it as 2 parcels, but again, for comparison reasons, they're asking
Yep.
for 10 million. So
Mhm.
that might be something comparable for CenturyLink.
I think the good news is they're talking.
Oh my God, it's so
I agree.
thrilling.
And they're receptive, right?
I don't know specifics, but they are talking, so.
Yeah.
That alone makes me want to jump up and
Big
down.
steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Big
It's
steps.
huge.
Yeah. We'll worry about the money later.
Yeah,
Very
and,
cool.
you know, we heard information, Conservation Fund does loans, and, you know, all
Yeah.
of those things are available, so we'll just keep our fingers crossed.
We'll do bonds
Yeah.
or something.
Great job with the town and Justin keeping this going.
Team effort.
And
Thank you.
trustees, so thank you.
Yep. And
Okay, Joel,
Amazing.
anything to report?
The only thing I'm sure everybody knows is the motion that trustee Lasis, or I guess Mayor Pro Tem Lasis is his official title, proposed about oil and gas development under Rocky Flats passed unanimously after some initial tensions months ago. Everybody got on board, and so that's really the only thing that I've heard in the last month around Rocky Flats. Been relatively quiet.
there is Jefferson Parkway stuff, but that's kind of ongoing. They may vote on
The
the
2.5
Broomfield,
Yeah.
vote on that at the end of the month, if they're gonna fund the 2.5.
I'm
but
sure
nothing
we'll
new.
see things pop up through the town or
Everywhere.
the
Yeah.
mailings on when that
I saw it on Mark's.
Yeah.
They're having a study session on the 18th and possibly the vote on the 25th.
Okay. Thank you. Oil and gas, Marcy, anything to
No,
report? other
there's
than-
nothing new. They're still working on the regs. As far as I'm concerned, there's nothing new since last month.
Okay.
This is gonna take months.
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Except for the recalls and, you know, that's nothing positive yet,
Okay.
one way or the other.
Thank you. Vanessa, Raptor program?
Well, I was gonna talk about the webcam and the Nest boxes, but sounds like the ball is rolling with the budget. But I wanted to tell Patrick that I just don't know what to do going forward because Allison had worked on it quite a bit. But, and when I would ask her what I could do, I wasn't really getting anywhere, and I don't know what she found out is what, and so I don't, and we've already missed this nesting season, so we need to get started in order to have everything ready for the next nesting season. And I want to do what I can do to help make things happen.
So, and I think the holdup was maybe the internet connectivity.
Right.
Right?
Power and
Right.
that.
Yeah, so I can tell you that, we're trying to do the Verizon small cell project, but at least get us like internet down in Community Park. So if there's some locations that you guys are really interested in, maybe that could be kind of a good starting point. And then I'll touch base with her and get a status update on what amount of work she's done.
Okay.
Vanessa, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't she also worried about it being in a fenced-in area so that it wouldn't be vandalized or messed with in any way? I remember she was
Did mention
looking
that
at
to me.
being on a town property,
Yeah.
like the maintenance building that is fenced
So we were
in.
looking at putting them down at the wastewater treatment, facing like the dog park area, similar to the view that we had at Arbor Day.
Stop me if I'm wrong, but it sounds like the first step, though, would be determining where they would
Yeah.
actually need to go.
Yeah, we need this guy to come in and just look at our town and figure out what would be a good place to put it, because we don't want to invest in putting a camera somewhere and then the birds are like, I don't want to nest there. So it needs to be first a place where we either know already that they nest in that place every single year, or a place that he can set up and have a pretty sure idea that they're going to come to this nest box that he puts up in this place that he feels is ideal to get a certain species to come, and we'd know, then we'd have the camera there.
Yeah, if you want to put him in contact with me, let's get that ball rolling.
Okay.
So I'd want to make sure that the spot he chooses is realistic for internet.
Right.
And then it becomes kind of a dance. So maybe if we have multiple locations, we can kind of zero in on one.
I think that was the problem, because I was even willing to just pay this guy to come and do it myself, but Allison was hesitant on that, and so I think that's the problem, because she knew that part of it, and
Sure.
we just need to be able to put those two sides together.
Yeah, let's
So
get that
he would
rolling.
need to work with y'all to make sure that it was a suitable communications site.
Just want to shoot me, you can shoot me
Yeah.
an email just kind of offline or copy the group if you want. We can get it rolling.
Okay,
So what I'd like to have is have this gentleman actually running with our park superintendent as well,
yeah,
who kind of understands the power and internet situation around town.
okay. We just do need to get it rolling now.
Okay.
I think, in order to have it all hopefully in place by next nesting season. I think we have the support that we know that
Next
we'd like to
nesting
have
season
it.
would be like what time frame is that?
It would start in January,
Okay, so definitely next calendar year though, which
yeah.
is good.
Yeah, we've got plenty of time.
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
The whole holdup was that the guy charges an hourly rate, and there just wasn't budget this year for it, so that.
If you guys are
worked
fine,
through that
well,
issue.
so I'll be honest, I would just take it out of the overall open space fund. So, I mean, it's a healthy fund, so he work, he's,
Okay.
my guess it could be more than a couple $1,000.
Yeah.
I don't know, we're talking just a few hundred.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Let's get
Okay.
it on.
Cool. Anything
That
else?
was,
Okay.
yeah, I thought it was gonna be a lot longer, but we will let you go.
Sure.
Yeah, since we already talked about it in the budget, I think we're good. And I'm excited about that, by the way.
And you'll soon have, like, really good news. It's the nesting season perhaps down.
Yeah.
Number of nests, fledglings and so forth.
good.
So,
Yeah, the owl nesting
More to come
season
soon.
is over, but the red tails are still going, so,
Well, keep sending the pictures. They're fun.
yeah.
I love the pictures. Because I share them with other people.
Okay.
Thank you to Peter and Vanessa, who are both helping us with our monthly Parks and Rec newsletter by putting content in there.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Saw that.
Well, thank you
Yeah.
for letting us do that, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the feedback we got from Arbor Day, that people wanted to see more stuff on wildlife, and Patrick said, sure, just
Yeah.
shoot us some
I mean,
articles,
we'll
so.
keep it pretty
started
cookie
with-
cutter, you know, the elk stuff, I think we probably want to think about just because it's still controversial for some people.
Yeah.
But educating people on the wildlife, I think, is a really good first step in preservation, so.
Controversial.
I don't know.
The elk, they don't glow.
Well, you know,
They do
Well,
now.
that was a comment from Bob today, is that the reason that the river is bent might be another interesting topic to put in there. Because the reasoning makes total sense, but to some people that look at it, it's like, whoa, why is
Oh,
it
no,
so?
that's not what I heard, but I was
Okay,
surprised too.
well,
that
let's
Arbor
call the
Day
meeting. So we are adjourned at 9:50.
Oh,
And that
even
is
though
a long
that was
meeting,
the
but we got through
size
Shan
of it.
That was.
And everybody has it in their inbox right now.
Yeah, no,
so
that
you're
was,
good.